Oh, okay, I got you.
You know how I am.
Yeah.
Well, I know how you are anyway.
Well, we're all a little cray, but
I'm so
let's
many
not go
ways.
there.
So many ways. I am so many ways.
I'm not crazy. I'm perfectly sane.
I watched the fluidic space thing last night on
Voyager.
Voyager.
Yes.
Yeah, my gateway to the whole tomato, and it was awesome. It's fluidic space. That moment that I googled the word fluidic space changed my life forever.
Really?
I had to rewatch that after you talked about it. So that was such a great intro to the electric universe through. Well, I think that is Star Trek. Voyager is cool.
Well,
yeah, I love
Trek,
Janeway.
yeah.
I love all the characters on. I just think it's great. And
Why do people like Star Trek? They just stand around and talk all the time.
Hey, Rick, you need to talk some shit to this guy because
I can't really explain why. I've just liked it all my life. It's pretty hard to explain why.
I'm a big fan.
It's an entry.
It's an escape as well. It's a way of looking to the future and seeing a brighter future that we can't really see right now today.
I don't think it's that good.
No, it's not that good. That's the point. It's an entry. It's an entry point.
I don't think the future of Star Trek is that good.
Oh.
Well,
it sounds
are you talking
really
about
depressing.
the future of Star Trek or the vision of Roddenberry?
Yes, both.
The fact that you don't have to work for a living, the fact that people have to.
Well, they don't have to.
I mean,
I guess
they don't get paid. They don't get paid to do their work. In other words, is what I'm saying. There's no money. It's a system where you try and just better yourself. Try and make something of yourself instead of all these pressures that we have in our daily lives with these financial problems that we have all the time.
That is totally not what his vision was.
Well, that's what I see.
Their idea was basically they're so far advanced in the future that they've achieved utopia on Earth, and so they go out exploring with literally and in a relatively relaxed posture with a ship that can destroy an entire planet. And that's what they. I mean, it's even the original Enterprise could strip the life off of a planet in an hour, and that's not good. So, the stuff that they could do, and they're basically, what do we do when we have ultimate godly power? What is mankind going to do? Well, we will seek out new life, won't we? I mean, the curiosity of mankind, and basically his philosophy lesson is that whatever it turned into later. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some really good storytelling in there with regards to politics, but that wasn't what he wanted at all.
Look, it's just a bunch of guys talking for half an hour. Or more. They just talk all the time.
And everyone, this is our guest, Leo, who will be telling us all about how
with a spaceship blowing up every once in a while. That's what I like.
Yeah, spaceship blow up. Hi, everyone. I'm Lio Cloud. I'm a screenwriter and soon to be a producer. I really like sci-fi and hate everything to do about most sci-fi.
Well, that's pretty good because you won't fall into. No, it does, because that means you're not going to fall into the tropes that other people have fallen into in the past.
Yeah, part of the way to avoid tropes is just don't watch stuff. Like, that's how you think of stuff. I just saw it and I just wanted to use it. It's like, you don't use any tropes. How is that? I don't watch anything.
Well, that's good. At least you're imagining things. I don't know. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this, and one of the reasons why I think it's so critical, is that it is the future that we're trying to build. And once you saw what Star Trek, well, not even that, just all of sci-fi, but let's like from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea upwards. But even then, you're talking about Star Trek has changed everything. I mean, we literally have all the technology that we can in Star Trek without inventing a warp drive and going through an alternate dimension. I mean, the computers, we got those. We have handheld telephones. We have computers everywhere, laptops, desktops. I mean, now with a computer, it talks to us. And I mean, literally just changing it to OK Computer and having Majel Barrett's voice, I'd be there. I'd be picking up the mouse like he was in Star Trek 4.
Yeah, but they have fun toys. Look, it's fun toys. Dude, the future isn't just fun toys.
No,
I mean,
I'm saying that's what that managed to do. The society does that. It imitates things like that it sees that it wants. I'm just hoping that something like this can happen with the electric universe as well.
what, we have gizmos? Like,
Well, no, but
what
just
gizmos?
changing the principles of your thoughts from gravity and the gravity-based reality or reality to paradigm, I guess we'll call it, to that no, light is bending because of plasma in and around stars and galaxies and the density of plasma, not the weight of its gravity
Yeah, it's
or
actual
whatever.
refraction to explain
exactly,
refraction.
optics. So I know. So if that's the case, then
It sounds funny when you say that.
I know. It's like, so what you're saying is the Greeks were right and Einstein was wrong? Okay, good. Glad we're there now.
It's like
Good
what
thing we
you're
got it
saying
right
is
2,000
that
years
the
ago.
thing, it's like what you're saying is there's refraction to explain the refraction of light.
Yeah,
Like I had a conversation with a friend of mine who studies physics in university. It's not his major or anything, and we just talked about it. And eventually, he didn't call it gravitational lensing anymore. He just said, "Well, the refraction is caused by that." It's like you're using refraction to describe it, man.
Good. Yeah, now you're using it. And that right there, by the way, is a good thing. Number one, we're teaching the future that way. But in number two, it was acceptable when all we were getting was white light. But now that we can get, I mean, it's been like 60 years since we've gotten really, really good photos, and we starting to notice, oh, these things are blue shifted. I wonder why. Because blue light bends more? Have you not looked at the sky? Just asking. You're an astronomer. If you haven't seen the sky, go out during the day.
No, they see the sky at night. No, during the day they sleep. Come on.
Well, that's kind of why it's funny, it's like...
it's like strippers. They walk during the night, they sleep during the day.
I don't know. I'd strip during the day. Well, I mean, skinny dipping, I guess. But no one's going to pay me to take off my clothes, I'll tell you that.
It's really interesting in talking about Star Trek and all the gadgets that they got. They dreamed all these things.
Sorry. You went back to Star Trek, and I was still on strippers. Now I'm thinking about Orion slave women. Okay, I'm good.
Well,
go on.
You can go back.
I'm good now.
Recently confirmed to be bi. Because woke.
I was just thinking about 7 of 9.
I love it. It's the only thing I like doing that thing. That and the dark-skinned Vulcan lady when she has a midriff sewing. That was nice.
Oh, okay. T'Pol. Yeah.
Yeah, she looks a lot like Halle Berry. Is that Halle Berry?
No.
It looks a lot like Halle Berry, man.
And she played Ishtar in Stargate SG-1 seasons 4, 5, and 6, I think.
Like they're all hotter than Princess Leia in a bikini.
I'm not going to comment on the attractiveness of anybody in these films unless I'm doing it jokingly, or unless it's my attractiveness, which is fine because I don't get to be in a lot of films. So maybe I'll be a star. Maybe I'll be one of the guys in the background of this one getting drunk.
Yeah, you'll be a red.
We'll see what happens. I'll be a red shirt, And who's that guy that just walked out that didn't look like he was in shape or anything, and he couldn't believe, and he just stoked to be there, and then he got shot? Yeah, that's Neil. He was just happy to be there.
I used to be an extra on films for a while.
Oh, actually, a lot of my friends
on TV
are.
as a comedian. It's not very fun.
Huh. I had a few of mine that showed up in movies like in Chronicles of Riddick and stuff. Well, I'm trying to talk about movies. Anyway, sorry, James, please, if it's on topic, go first.
I was just saying you were dating yourself because you said red shirt and then Picard changed that. So, as you said.
Yes.
You said that, what do you call it? You said that, well, now that we're going to have a shift in thinking because we have all of these facts available. I don't think that's the case. I think we need to change the way we think in order to have these things be accepted in the culture or the scientific culture, because as it is now, it's not going to happen because people can't grasp the truth, because it requires them to use a mode of thinking which they're not accustomed to. That's my take on it.
Oh, you've just described like most people on the planet. That's why you sort of have to give them something to believe in, as opposed to actually. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm literally quoting Reinhold Niebuhr. And I shouldn't be doing that. But basically his argument was,
who that is.
He said, the average man is not guided by reason but faith, and this faith provides necessary illusion and emotionally potent oversimplification to keep the ordinary person on course. So it's basically justification for manipulation of the public, which is why I'm pissed I said
you
it.
say you disagree with that?
I just agreed with it. That's what I just said. I'm basically advocating that, but I'm advocating that through an artistic medium, though, not actual politics. So
I don't agree.
Well, it doesn't matter if you agree.
Also,
I'm just postulating.
Medium, it's going to be just horrible and boring. It's just going to be crap.
Well, music is the easiest thing. We have Chris Kelly did some music videos in the Electric Universe type thing. But the trouble is that it's the same argument trying to get popular. In the public conscious.
I would agree with you, Neil, because for the way that I look at it, the followers are not going to dig into the deep stuff. They're looking for the leadership to determine what's rational and what's good.
Everyone wants to be a winner. They don't want to go with the loser. Yeah,
exactly. It's the herd dynamic, so it runs that way, and it's normal.
Well, what do you say
I don't agree with
Lio?
that.
What's your thoughts on that?
About what? About people being. What did he say? Need a faith to hold on to rather than reason because they're not going to do it.
That's what you started with the debate, and we were having a debate on how to convince people, and I said that, and I couldn't believe I said that, and that's what started that. But look, I could be wrong.
The people who aren't going to want to think, they just can't participate. It's like I don't know, what do you call it? Those games where you have to pay in order to enter a competition or a tournament. Yeah. Those guys haven't even paid the fee to enter the tournament. I mean, who cares about them? It's like, what do we care about I don't know.
Well, that's kind of what they say. That's what they say about us when we you guys aren't experts, are you? Like you don't look through telescopes.
No, I'm not talking about expert, but I'm saying, are you gonna do something with it, or are you just gonna sit at home and contemplate it pointlessly? That these things, thoughts are a form of action, and they relate to physical actions in the real world. It's like, well, why are you going to think about something if you're not going to act on it? And if you're not going to act on it, as far as anyone else or history is concerned, other than some empty verbiage, you don't count.
Welcome to Tibetan Buddhism.
I don't know anything about Tibetan.
Well, in Buddhism, you contemplate existence, and often you begin to realize that your wants and desires are the things that are causing you pain, so you must retract from that. And therefore, you start getting rid of attachments.
No, your body causes you pain.
Well, no, he's talking about mental pain, clearly.
Yeah, but...
Hey, I'm not Siddhartha. If I was Siddhartha, I would have been dead for 2,700 years. So.
There's physical pain and there's emotional pain. That's what he's referring to, I think, is emotional pain.
Yeah, there's emotional pain, but emotional pain usually comes from physical pain. Like, think of most of the times, man, this made me feel bad because that made me feel good, and now I don't feel it. It's like, usually the negation of expected pleasure is the root of emotional pain. Or the promise of physical.
Have you gone through a divorce?
No, I never got married.
Okay.
Well, I know that when I visited my aunt yesterday in Brockville, and she has Alzheimer's and she didn't remember me, I was in pain because of that. Not physical pain, but emotional pain.
Learning
it
all
touched
the stuff.
me.
Not to get too personal, that's probably the negation of an expected type of emotional pleasure.
No, I knew that she wouldn't recognize me. I knew that.
What did you expect her, to recognize you?
Well, people can be sad because of the situation.
Also, you can have good days and bad days.
Pain. Yeah, I say sad. I think what you're grasping for is grief or moribund. Not moribund.
It's still
the other word for grief.
It's still emotional pain, regardless.
Yeah, it's emotional pain with a psychosomatic component.
We are not here to talk about that. Although this is actually very interesting.
You're the one who said it.
I know, but that's what I did. That's what I do. But I'm trying to bring it to talk about an actual making characters and stories and stuff. That I'm trying to give hints until finally it starts bringing into that thing. But sometimes they're read, sometimes they're not. Sometimes I just have to start yelling at people. Okay.
And I would say that our intellectual talk is really not the realm that we're talking about, particularly if you're talking about the majority of people. They're not running off their intellect. They're running off their unconscious belief systems.
They're running off momentum.
in a way.
But
Yeah,
let's not put it in any. Let's not mince words. Running out of momentum. They do it. Why? Because it always happened that way. There was something before that that was thrust upon them in order to act in the way they did. They're not in control of their lives, so in a sense, it's kind of pathetic. But that's how most people are. Don't.
Yeah,
So
but
these people are your
sci-fi
audience,
is
right? And you're saying they don't matter because they're irrelevant.
No, I don't think these people.
So that's an
Look,
interesting
if somebody.
perspective. You have
Yeah, that's
an entire
American
audience
comic
full of
book
people that
novel.
are interested in your work, in your science fiction work, but you're also saying they're all fucking idiots. So I'm really
I'm not saying
curious
they're
to see.
fucking idiots. I'm
You
saying,
kind of
are they
are,
thinking or are they
actually.
not
Your
thinking?
thesis seems to be thus far that everyone
Because if they're
is
not,
stupid.
and you said they're
So I'm
interested.
wondering, what do you have to say that's smart?
On
I don't
that,
have
I guess on
anything
that,
smart. I don't think I have anything smart
I
to say.
hear your
I maybe
critique.
have
I wonder
anything
what your
smart to say.
contribution is. What's your contribution? What are you
Look,
bringing to the table?
You said people are interested. Well, if they're interested, that means they're interested to contemplate the things they're seeing and not just passively consume it through momentum, like, I don't know, the Avengers movie or the dumb type action movie. That's not interest. That's titillation of some sort. There's no active consuming. You just sit there and let something happen, and then you ask, what did he just saw? And you're like, I just saw, like, stuff. I mean,
So I'm familiar with standard critiques of popular culture. I wonder what uniqueness you bring to the conversation.
I don't know. I don't think too much about popular culture. I find it very
But
boring.
I don't think you've spoken about anything but popular culture and how
well, maybe that's my
irrelevant
fault,
it is.
though.
Well, so I'm asking for a change of topic then.
Oh no, no, that's cool.
Maybe
I
the
want to get
guest
to
can
the.
share with us what he has to offer instead of
I tried to talking
his
about
critique of culture.
I tried to talking about what do you call it? He said Neil. That's your name? Yeah, I'm kidding.
Yes, that's
Neil.
me.
I get mixed up with names
It's all good.
very often. Neil said, well, people are not going to learn by reason. They're going to be led by their emotions and other cultural momentums around them that would be thrust upon them. I said, yeah, well, some people, look, the bad news is there are always going to be people that are going to be like that. The good news is those people are not going to stop the people who are not driven by momentum.
Okay,
If
although
society is properly-
maybe my goal is to say that I would like to see, as much as I could go, let us make an esoteric French film that no one's going to see that has to do with the electric universe. I would prefer that it's something that would be popularly attractive to people. I know that it's not just don't make a flashy trailer. That can't be just it. I know that. I mean, sometimes there's more to it than filmmaking, like I've learned from you on Wednesday.
You would make the flashiest trailer in history if you would make an EU movie, because it's literally that big. It's like, these are chemical discharges in most movies. That's nothing compared to an electrical discharge. Even nukes are weaker.
Yeah, at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, it's...
Actually, at the end of the day, a nuke is an electric discharge, kind of.
Yeah, that's one way. That's true. Like,
well, yeah,
also,
thousands of times weaker.
Well, it depends on the discharge. But anyway, go on. Sorry.
Also, here's the secret I discovered. I'm going to produce a movie soon. Here's the secret I discovered for making electric or movies with electric universe science. You can just do it on a really, really small scale compared to what it is, and just magnify it with a good camera and be like, hey, this is a planet exploding, when in reality it's just a terrarium.
That has not escaped me. If the only thing that would be really weird is, like, I could see the advantages. It's like, so this was really hard to do. Why? Because we had to go to space. We had to go and do that thing that you sort of almost go to space and do the parabolic thing, because we had to film it in 0G for 30 seconds at a time.
Do you have to film it in 0G?
No, you don't really. But because you can always film from the top, looking down on it, so that everything doesn't look like it's leaning from gravity. That's what they did in Star Wars and stuff.
That's actually a really good idea. I didn't think about that. Thanks, Neil.
Oh, no problem. I will tell you all the cool shit that I learned from watching the making of Star Wars anytime.
I also watched the making of Star Wars, but I didn't think of that. I also watched the heck out of those documentaries because I want to make this movie practical with miniature 3D modeled
I'll give you
sets,
a perfect example of something that everyone thinks is actually like computer generated, but is Independence Day. A lot of the footage, like when they blew cities up and stuff, that was practical effects. They actually put an entire city vertical on the wall and then exploded down below and watched the wall of fire raise upwards, and they filmed it from one side. Like, I'm like, damn, work, guys. You know, like, you know, that's
Also
why
today
it
with
looks so
3D
weird.
modeling, you can do it in 5 minutes. Well, not 5 minutes. You can do it for a quarter of the budget.
Oh, it was just because you mentioned practical effects. That's the only reason I brought it up. I just
Oh,
thought it was a really
okay, so thanks for derailing this again. Anyways, that's one advantage of the electric universe theory viewpoint paradigm. I guess you can just make special effects that are amazing on a nothing budget. I mean, that's one thing. Oh, somebody just gave a thumbs up. Cool. I did not know you can do that. The second part, look, if you're gonna make an electric universe theory, it goes down deeper than just, oh, here's some stuff. It's like, this stuff is the truth. And, the truth goes with, what did the Greeks believe? Truth, pride, and I don't remember. Truth, dreams, and freedom. Those were the three values of the Greeks, and these values form a unity. You can't have one without the other. How can you have dreams if they are false? You can't. How can you have freedom if you're told lies?
That's actually
you can't.
why they made it illegal to shrink from controversy, I think, right?
I don't know.
Well, I just remember that, hearing about that.
They did mandate political participation, and they said, the guy who doesn't participate in his state's affairs is an idiot. That's something they agreed. They did say. So, if you want to present truth, like, imagine just like the most nihilistic movie you've seen. Did anyone see Joker?
No, but I have it downloaded.
Did anybody see a nihilistic movie?
Like Fight Club? Maybe?
It's not that nihilistic. It's more of a parody of nihilism, which is not nihilistic.
Did you just ask if anybody ever watched a realistic movie?
No, nihilistic.
Nihil. N-I-H-I-L.
Got it. I'm so glad I made that correction.
The Big Lebowski?
I don't know. I don't see the.
Yeah, it has these nihilists in it,
Heathers.
we believe in nothing.
1987, Heathers, when they go and kill everyone in their school? Like, that's yeah. You could never do that.
I don't watch nihilistic movies, but I heard that, what's his face? There's the movie Fargo?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty esoteric. I heard it was good. I actually never seen it. So I should.
Fargo is one of the most critically acclaimed movies, or There Will Be Blood, or There Will Be Blood. That's a very nihilistic one. Can you imagine just a movie with that type? That's a sci-fi exposing electric universe stuff. I don't think so.
Why not? I think that's the first cool idea you've come up with. What do you mean?
It would be a horrible idea.
You think? I'd like to see some sort of like there's parts that have, there's always like a mythical justification in the things. I don't think I'd like to see that. I'd like to see indiscriminate. Like, you want to attribute reason to this, but unfortunately you cannot predict where the lightning will strike, like
Right, but still it comes look, all of these cataclysms in EUT, they come to say, look, they're not random. These doomsday predictions, meteors falling from the sky, even by scientists, or the world is gonna end. I have a prediction to the end of the world that you see ad nauseum in religions. You don't have to be afraid of them. You can know why. It's the fear caused by ignorance that gnaws on the human spirit can be cast out, to use poetic terms. That's one implication of this. But let's get to that. Duffy, you said that you want to see a nihilistic movie with EUT. Well, let's get into the technical details of a movie. So a story is dictated by its team. Not by anything else, and then you can include something in it.
What do you mean team? You
team?
mean
the people that make the movie.
Actors?
No,
Well,
THEME.
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 Theme. Got it. Thank you.
I have a thick accent. Okay.
No problem. I want to make sure that everyone understands you.
I knew he was saying theme.
You're smarter though. You're obviously more.
He's more used to hearing people with funny accents.
That's okay. So you said theme. Go ahead. I'm interested in what you're saying.
Team. Well, what is team? Team comes down to, this is what I want to say about the subject matter. You know, you can actually have multiple similar teams on varying subject matter. Trying to think of like all of the remakes of Antigone that have been done to that, or I guess Seven Samurai is basically the subject is very similar in both of them. Has been done both in the Western and in Japan, or I'm thinking of another movie. I can't think of another movie that has the same theme but a different subject. Anyways, the
So you're
subject
talking
is the
about
thing.
iconic themes like the hero's trope and
No.
these kinds of things, or no? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Theme means what I want to say about the movie. I'm going to give a classical example. The Gone with the Wind, very famous book. Movie. The movie was better than the book. I don't think so. They said, well, the subject is the life of this woman, and the theme is how the old South has changed for the new post-bellum, I guess, situation. That's the theme of the movie. It doesn't have to be very philosophical. We can take, I don't know, a theme like, I'm going to give a famous book.
Pride and Prejudice. That's simple as that. Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah,
I mean, that's literally, the title is exactly what happens. She goes, hey, I love you, but you're a dipshit, and you're being a racist, and you're being a bigot, and look at all the shit you're doing. And then he attempts to change over the course of the novel to please her. That's the theme, or whatever.
No, the theme is Pride and Prejudice.
Well, I guess it's in the title.
It's you know, that's one
Pride
of the obvious ones where you literally.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give another example. Atlas Shrugged, very famous movie. The movie's crap. I don't recommend nobody watch it. The subject is, I'm kill spoilers, but it's been out for 50 years. The subject is the men of the mind go on strike, and the theme is the importance of man's mind. That's a pretty good one. Or
Nietzschean.
Anna Karenina.
Oh, I was just saying it's kind of Nietzschean.
I don't think so, and I've read Nietzsche. At first glance, of Nietzsche, yes. After it, it's like, no.
Oh, of course. No. I'm sorry, I'm not being clear. The sci-fi version of Nietzschean, which is in the show Andromeda by Gene Roddenberry. Yeah.
Okay.
Then, because he said, it was supposed to be, we work in harmony towards our enlightened self-interest. The trouble is they forgot the word enlightened. You know, and that's when things start getting, you know.
It's not enlightened self-interest, just whatever. It's like.
Oh, it's just competition and self-interest, yeah. Anyway,
no,
keep going.
Just people acting unreasonably. It's like that would have been just people acting unreasonably then.
You've really just described Nietzscheans in that show. Literally. What is the Nietzschean?
Nietzsche is an avowed irrationalist.
It's like a Klingon.
Nietzschean is an avowed irrationalist. He says so. He says reason isn't that good. I don't believe it. There's literally a movement in philosophy called irrationalism. I'm not making this up. That's what they call themselves. But anyways, that's the theme. Theme is what I have to say about the subject matter I'm portraying. Also, keep in mind that you cannot, I repeat, you just can't make a movie or a story without a theme. Whatever you do, you're going to have to slant it in a certain way. You can't just display all of it journalistically. Even a journalist or a scientist is going to have to choose the things that are most important to convey something. When you make it up, you got to choose. Yeah.
As a filmmaker, do you have a specific, consistent theme that you're trying to achieve, or is it
across all my films?
Specific? Yeah, I mean, I'm not.
I haven't made that movie. This is the first movie I'm making, so no, because
right. So the topic is fiction. So in your fictional world, would you continue to have one theme that you continue to perpetuate throughout your films, or do you have a specific theme for each film that you would want to achieve?
I'm working on some other projects. What I can say is the specific theme I think that all of them serve definitely is courage. Courage to face the unknowns, courage to face oppression, courage to face a purposeless world, which means a place where people are just aimless, not existentialism, use of the word purposeless. That is confusing.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Also, what's his face? Do you know Akira Kurosawa? Best filmmaker ever, if you ask me. Akira Kurosawa had many films. He said, the big theme of my films is why can't people be happier? That's the theme of his movies.
Is he the director of Brokeback Mountain? Am I mistaken?
No. Akira Kurosawa, who made all the samurai films and the Japanese shit.
Oh yeah, that's not my genre at all.
He also made, some contemporary Japanese movies like High and Low, The Bad Sleep.
Oh no! I'm literally learned everything about Akira Kurosawa from the song by the Bare Naked Ladies. So that's about it. He goes, like Kurosawa, I make mad films. Okay, I don't make films, but if I did, they'd have a samurai. And I was like, I think I know who that is, and that's all I know. Like Magnificent Seven or something.
Hell, stop. This is
Thank you.
historic beyond reason.
Polly B just put a comment in the chat. It's worth mentioning. Why not go with a theme with the EU as a backdrop? All the events of the EU as a backdrop, as a backstory kind of thing.
That's exactly
Like
it.
going in the background.
But notice that's exactly it. The EU is not the subject. You can't say, "Oh, this is EU in the subject." It's like, well, what about the EU? The discovery of the EU, or the events discussed by the EU, like the War of the Gods, or
I kind of like it if it was matter of fact.
But EU is the setting.
It's part of the setting. The setting is the sum total of what happens in the story. Yeah.
But the idea of the EU is established, and in an alternate world, EU was established as the primary paradigm, is what you're suggesting. And what would that world look like? Is that what you're saying?
No, it happened in a society completely dominated by the paradigm we have today, with minor adjustments just to get it a bit better. I wrote in a story like that, where most of the people are on the gravity-centric view, including the main character and his mentor, in a way, and including the main character and his mentor. And by the end of it, it's obvious that he adopted something else, even though that's not. Well, it's obvious, even though that's not in any way mentioned in the story. That, hey, I discovered this cool new paradigm. But anyways, EUT is something that can be either this. Let's say it's not known, and let's say it's discovered, and discovered by either a scientist, an inventor, which is kind of like a scientist, an archaeologist, or a mythologist like Velikovsky, or I guess a religionist. That would be very interesting. A religionist discovering the origins of the religions.
That's also another way of going about it. I often use those two.
Oh, I like that.
I'm not going to write it because I'm not a religionist.
Well,
I can't get into my...
Well, yeah, it's just the two. It's the two. There's only like the two big things are the link to mythology and plasma, and of course the link to current astrophysics and plasma in the electric universe. Those are the two really good ones, except for maybe geology. You know, like.
Yeah, geology. It has other applications, obviously, as well, like easy water.
You never don't have to tell me. I love Gerald Pollack.
I love easy water. Like easy water, for example. There's an application, not to narrow it down. Let's just say a scientist, a mythologist, and which is a bit parallel to a mythologist, even though he wouldn't describe himself as that, but would have to. Discovering this thing, a theologian. So those are the three type of people that would discover it in a society. Now, that's for one mode. Put that aside for a second. Keep it in mind. Let's go to the other one. Let's say, look, EUT is everywhere, man. It's just everywhere. We're living in the age of the god. There's purple dawn. Then it can be part of the story, but why would it be explored? If it's like literally a backdrop, in the sense it's just there, man. It's part of the set. I mean, it would not be made into a movie ever, because it would be like, look, we're putting all of this effort to making it look like this, but it never comes up. This is a waste of effort, man. And artistically, that would be horrible too. It would be like, what gives? Even in a society where people do accept it, even in a society where people do accept EU theory or electricity as the main paradigm, that would still be like, what was the point of that? Like, why? I mean, I know it's a thing, and it's been a thing in the past. Like, maybe you want to do something about the age of the gods, or you want to describe how one guy does something during the long night and the war in heavens. That would be interesting. Like, the subject would be one man, or a man, or a family, or a community struggling through a type of struggling through a catastrophe. That, or the electric catastrophe. That would be the
subject.
Preparing
for one in a Noah kind of way. It would be kind of like that. Yeah.
Well, maybe a Noah.
No, I just meant that you could even envision whatever society this is gone. Like, you could think that you're watching a sci-fi show at the beginning of the movie, and then you realize you're on Earth after
Yeah,
you know,
it's a
Jupiter
sci-fi,
had
so
come
it's
by.
primitive technology.
You know, well, yeah, you'd be thinking it's weird. It's stone. It's a really electric technology, like really kind of steampunky. I don't know what you'd do with it, but then you could. Then, no. This is just a thought, and then suddenly you get to the end, and you realize, no, this was Earth, and that was, you know, before Samaria, and that Jupiter took care of the whole planet, like, or Venus or whatever. You know, like they saw it coming and they tried to hide, but they didn't live. You know, and this is all we have left. These.
Oh, look, there's Mars. What is that? That's a new one. Oh, no, bye.
Yeah. Oh, my God, no. Dig a tunnel. Get down to the ground. Like, people are dying from radiation because things are getting so, like, energetic, you know.
That would be spectacle, but what would be the point of the movie?
Well, that's what I mean. You just basically, it's like...
You just have another disaster movie where stuff happens. Well, it would just be senseless why it happens.
It would be just like Cloverfield or something, you know, like... Or M. Night Shyamalan would just go, what the twist at the end? And that's it. Like
M.
it's
Night
like,
Shyamalan.
Whatever his name is. The guy who makes the movies that are kind of weird.
Yeah, I know.
You know who it is. Yeah.
The one who shall not be named.
But that's all it is like Michael Bay just likes special effects, and he doesn't make a storyline. And the other guy just makes... a twist in his show and doesn't really explain anything.
You're gonna do all of this just for one spectacle. And here's the thing: people don't remember spectacle. Like, let me ask you this: what was the plot of the last Transformers movie you saw?
I never watched any of them.
What was the plot of
turn into cars?
Yeah, I really like that. Well, I like the.
What about a movie where the hero is Electric Universe Theory? What about a movie that starts out as a Michael Bay bullshit movie, with end of the universe movie, and by the end, EU Theory saves the day becomes the. I mean, that would be pretty cool, right? I mean, it's
save the day. Okay, so that's a save the day
Theory
version.
as the hero of the film would be an interesting thing to see.
You started in the middle, not even you started in the middle, late beginning. That's not how you construct the thing. I mean. It's not how you construct a team. You just had a plot element, but the question is, where does that fit in with the grand scheme of things? Because a movie is not, you know, it's like a scientific theory. It's not just a thing with this, you know, it's just a bunch of stuff. It's no, these things have to be connected together, all of them.
There's your movie.
Right. What? What did you say?
Making a film about how those things connect and bringing light to the reality that EU Theory could possibly save us from catastrophe is quite a theme, and
it's not a theme.
Unfolding. So you should not yell. So this episode is about fiction. So I'm presenting a fictional idea, whether you think it's a theme or not. And the fictional idea would be a regular old-fashioned disaster movie, like we're so used to seeing. With the twist being that the disaster is averted by an understanding and insight of Electric Universe Theory. So, I mean, it's a pretty simple theme, right? But or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. But
that's a plot.
Okay, there you go. Let's call it a plot. And so the plot would be an interesting thing for people to see and hear, to the extent that we're presenting EU Theory as the hero of the story, the solution to the dilemma of the film. That would be an interesting sort of basic plot to explore, in my opinion. But
that's a plot structure. But here's the reason: why should we care? That's a melodrama. It's like it's not even a melodrama. It's beneath that, because melodrama is man versus man. He wants something, the other guy wants something. They fight for it.
So how is melodrama established as a hierarchical element? I.e., how is melodrama not acceptable? I guess
what do you mean acceptable? I mean,
well, here's the truth. The reality is that young men often live their 20s and 30s in opposition to everything that exists, and that's healthy and normal. But it also overlooks the idea of the history and the traditions and the shoulders that brought us to the place we are now. I stand on the shoulders of Jean-Luc Picard, and he is a fictional character. But that doesn't mean that he hasn't informed my ideologies and my worldview and my attitudes toward things.
My favorite Sherlock Holmes.
And just like Jesus Christ is a model for living, and I don't really care if he ever existed or not, because I see his life as a model for living. So you take what I'm suggesting is that you got your babies and you got your bathwater, and any film that interests me is going to be instructive to the extent that it separates out the bullshit from the truth, which I think is what you're saying. And so,
Well, what's your point with this? I'm confused. I'm sorry.
I'm literally making my point while you're asking me what my point is. How is that helpful?
Okay. Can you make it short? I just can't
No,
remember
I can
stuff
make
that
it
long.
exactly like I make it. And I'm not interested in you correcting or redirecting
I'm not
my
correcting. I'm
statements.
just asking it to be a
Okay,
bit
well
more.
then why are you
So-
interrupting my point while I'm making it to ask me to make my point?
Because I'm
That
not
seems-
getting it. I got lost.
Okay,
I just got
well,
lost. I'm sorry.
Well, why don't you continue telling us about your story? Because obviously I'm not able to make that connection with you. So let's
Sorry, I just didn't get.
it's okay. You don't have to get it. It's all right.
That's all right. People don't have to get each other immediately. Communication is hard. It really is.
Yes. But
that's-
still, the point is that I understand the essence, I guess, is what elements are we going to put in there?
Like you can
Like
talk
how
about
we-
the elements all you want, but that doesn't make a story. Also, the elements need to have something to do with the bigger thing, which is the theme of it. If not, it's just fizzles out. It's like.
Well, we can say that,
trying to think-
I mean, blowing up the Death Star is part of Star Wars, but really it's Luke's journey, but he's following the young man's journey of discovery about who he really is. It's sort of like the trip of enlightenment or something. I don't know exactly how you describe the theme.
That's the story of Luke. I mean, it depends. The first one, no. The first one, he doesn't have too much of a conflict. He's like, he starts
just
as,
means an old
maybe I'll
man gets
go,
a few
maybe I'll
hints.
do. And then he's going go about it. And the second one is like, oh, do I stay here and protect and become a better Jedi, or do I go and protect my friends?
Well,
that's his thing.
That was interesting too, because the very first, he was going to join the Imperial Academy and become a stormtrooper. So that's what he wanted to do, and then suddenly he becomes like the head rebel, which is weird. But but he's the archetypical like, I want something to believe in. I need to give my life meaning. Your guys are leaving me, let me stay here and farm all my life is going to suck balls. I'd like to get out of here, please.
The third one has a conflict between him. Well, what am I going to do about Vader? He's my dad, but he's my. Oh, I don't know. The third one is a bit worse. The prequels have a pretty good team, but the execution is just freaking horrible.
Yeah, it was all
the theme
CGI,
the theme of the prequels is fear. How an evil man controls the galaxy and an individual the same way through fear. That was a good one.
Yeah.
But back to the point, melodramas have nobody can remember a melodrama. It just, he did something and then he did something. But the drama has actual internal conflict. Like, I don't know, take the longest surviving artistic work ever, the Iliad. The Iliad has an interesting piece in it. Achilles is like, well, I don't want to help Agamemnon. He's a rotten piece of shit, but all my friends are in this fight, and I want to save them, but I'm also mad. That's his conflict in it. All of the characters have conflicts in it, even the minor ones like Sarpedon, who has like, we can just.
Well, I'm
giving an example. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, then.
I was giving an example, but I can cut it. The point is, good art is made by internal conflict. If there's no internal conflict, why would we care? It's just like spectacle and titillation.
Well, that's
the stuff you just can't remember.
That's why they always give you like, the parents have to find the kids in the disaster movie type bullshit. So you have something to give a shit about.
Look, it's save the dog, it's kick the cat, save the cat, kick the dog. The bad guy kicks the cat, the good guy saves the dog. Oh,
at least the theme in Independence Day was, these are the people who are actually going to make a difference by the end of it, and you didn't know that. I thought that was good, because like at least you're following the president and the people who have the ability to shoot guns and stuff. Like you're not following just Randy there, the crazy fucking drunk guy, and then having him show up there and go, what? Oh yeah, no, I'll fly a plane drunk, sure. Give me an F-16, we're good. That would be a stupid movie. So
yeah. Look, if you want to promote EUT, I think one of the worst things you can do is have a controversial opinion in a stupid movie, because then people say, oh, that is the stupid thing they had in that bad movie.
Right. You want a good story with that this is sort of like something that could grow on it or something, or hint to
also
it
needs to have, because the EU2 is actually real, yeah, it's actually real, or really, really tries to be real. If you're a skeptic like some people are, don't think I'm that skeptical. Some of it is
Well, you
definitely
won't have
there
trouble
that I don't know
convincing the
about.
people here that it's probably
No,
real.
but here again, even if you don't believe it's real, which is going to be most of the people, it's like you gotta convince people who don't agree with you. That's how you do things, So, what was I going to say? So you gotta make it have verisimilitude. That's the word, verisimilitude. VERSE. How do you spell that thing?
I don't know. But I'm gonna type it
Verisimilitude.
in
Look it
now.
up.
Similitude.
I wrote it down. Can't believe it. I'm sorry, guys. I
found
failed
it.
you.
The appearance of
spell
being
it?
true or real. VERISIMILITUDE.
So it needs to have verisimilitude, and adding verisimilitude to content in a movie is actually very hard. You can
I
make something
found a
that is
picture that
obvious.
said verisimilitude in film. So.
Yeah, that's been a major topic until amateurs talk about suspension of disbelief, but in the technical jargon, it's verisimilitude. And verisimilitude, and and when you write a story, you need to do setup and payoff. You set something up, you pay it off. That's how the mind works.
Yeah, don't leave it hanging.
Don't, unless it's a red herring. You can't leave red herrings hanging. Some things are just left hanging. It's like, who cares?
Right,
the
but
mind
you
is
don't
stuff.
want to. You don't
have to resolve anything.
There is but if there's a checkoff gun, there's a checkoff gun, right?
Chekhov's gun's an example of a setup and payoff.
Yeah.
But also, that's not how Chekhov's guns work. Most people think, oh, you put a gun and no, not how it works.
I'm certainly not a filmmaker, so you're probably right. Please go on.
Anyways,
when did they name a gun after Chekhov?
When he shot Picard? No, Luke? No, I don't know.
Chekhov made a play where in the first act he put a gun, and they talk about the gun, and in the third act they shoot it. Now, why would anyone put a gun on the wall that's loaded is beyond me. That's asinine beyond belief. But no, really, it is. I mean, just imagine. But that's the point of it.
That happens in the South all the time. They have their guns loaded on the back of their rack in the back of the bed of their pickup truck inside the cab. They're always loaded.
They're loaded, but are they? No. I'm from a country where there's a lot of soldiers with a lot of rifles. They walk around. None of them have a bullet in the barrel ever when they're walking around. It's not something you do. So, anyways,
I certainly don't have an opinion on it. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah, he does. We know he does. Anyways, so that's verisimilitude, and establishing verisimilitude is really hard, and you don't have a lot of time to do it. Like, I'm gonna give an example. You have to. Okay, so going back a bit, one good way to show verisimilitude is do this thing that Francis Bacon has discovered. Francis Bacon, he's the guy who basically invented scientific method. Knowledge is power. Specifically, he's talking knowledge of causes is power to enact their effects. Or as the Greeks said, techne and episteme, if any of you know that.
Yeah.
What else?
We had a conversation about that, yeah.
Okay, apparently we did. He gave prerogative instances. The famous example of a prerogative instance, is heat and a thermostat. What does a thermostat do when it's hot?
I already know the answer, so I'm not saying.
No.
Well, I don't want to ruin it.
It's obvious, but you don't think about it that way. I mean, it's in front of your eyes, but it's just not like, really?
Yeah, true.
It expands.
And
expansion is a type of movement. Therefore, Bacon and other things, obviously. Alone, it wouldn't be too much, but this one is the big one. He said, "Oh, heat is a measurement of motion. It's how much a thing moves." That's the kinetic theory of heat. Like hundreds of years before atoms and even phlogiston. The idea of Vossier that's not very good, even though Vossier is a genius.
Yeah, philosophen or whatever it's called. Yeah,
it's very hard to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm bad at this. Saying star names is not good for me either. No.
Join the club, mate. Is everyone else still here? Probably just like
I just I think McDuffie had a good thought, and I think he was trying to find out how you would implement it if that was the kind of thing that you would want to do. Is that some guy like, I don't know, some lead guy would be this, who is a mainstreamer and comes along and is looking for this truth and finds out that the EU has some reality to it and why it's being suppressed or whatever, and he just keeps on going and finding more and more and more stuff. So if that was your kind of idea, how would you implement that kind of film? I think that's
I don't know. It's not my idea.
I know, but
No.
it's but if
You're asking me to, on the technical level, if you're going to do it, you're going to have it matter beyond the curiosity. Unless this guy
It has to be
is
critical to
curious,
the film, or
unless
Well,
this guy
I
is
think he was
really
asking for
curious,
what the
it has to
component parts-
matter.
I think he was asking what the component parts of a successful film would be if that was, what you wanted the character to do.
Well, if it's going to be about that, it's going to be about a guy who wants to know the truth. He's a truth seeker, and he's filled in an environment and in a world, essentially, of people who don't want to know the truth. So we're going to have a story involving conformism versus discovery. That's one theme. That's one part of it.
right? Okay, I see that.
Well, what's a conformist in essence? What really makes a conformist into who he is? I'm thinking of conformist. Most university people are conformists. Most religionists are conformists.
How about
most people
followers? Followers are conformists.
To be a follower, I don't know. You can follow someone because you have, thought the evidence through, and said, yeah, this guy is onto something and he's capable, and I have decided
that would be
to follow
agreeing,
him.
not following.
Well, following just means you go the same way someone else goes. I mean,
And that's a part of identity.
You gotta make the distinction, huh? Excuse me?
No, followers are people who follow groups.
Well, I don't know. We're in a group, and I don't think of any one of us as followers. So.
No, we're the weird ones, though. So we're the
weird ones, but that doesn't count. That doesn't say, well, we get an exemption. So I don't think it has to do about following per se. I mean, this main character might even have a group that follows him.
An association. You mentioned associations and words, and that's one that popped in my head.
I'm not doing associations. I'm looking at the parameters of the idea or of the notion, and I'm using that in order to explore it. I don't do the associations. I look into the parameters of it. That's an epistemological technique that's very useful. Look at the parameters of a thing.
Gotcha.
For example, heat. How can you tell heat is motion? You open it up. You say, well, a thing expands. Expansion is a sort of motion. It doesn't matter. Another parameter of heat that is omitted, that doesn't count, is, well, the thing that moves doesn't count. Movement doesn't care about the thing that moves. The movement omits the thing moving. The amount of it is omitted. For heat, same for movement. What else? All of the other factors, like, let's see, color is omitted. Scent is omitted. I'm thinking of things that are useless. I can't think of anything else that's useful that is omitted. So this is a completely different technique. You look at the things you don't include, or the things that can't be of any quantity, the things that are omitted in order to do it. So that's a completely different method to it than associations. You get that? That's a bit of a tangent, but that's part of what I do. So
no, it makes sense.
Very useful for writers. Good, because most people don't do it. If you do it also notice that you can do this all the time for Electric Universe stuff. Just in the mythology, you can say, oh, well, this is a cataclysm. I don't know the particulars, so this is going to sound very glib. Or very glib. If you look at the symbols, well, this is a bull, the bull of heaven, and the sip of the sky, and what else? The crescent, which is, I guess, the moon.
Right.
What do they have? What do they have omitted? Well, what do they have in common? Well, they have in common the shape, but the thing they have omitted is the shape of the thing, the color of the thing. Well, we know it's bright. So you come upon that. No, I've done this wrong. I did it before. I just can't do it now. No, I'm sorry, but you can do it in EU theory a lot if you try. I just can't do it right now because it's genuinely hard to do. It requires focus. So
I understand.
I recommend you do it alone. I might be able to do it later and note it, but very useful technique, much recommended. But back to the story that Mr. Duffy has proposed. No, Duffy proposed a cataclysmic event on top of it. A cataclysmic
Might
event.
have been. I mean, when we think EU, Cataclysm comes to mind. So.
Yeah, Cataclysm comes to mind, but so can Golden Age. I mean.
Oh well, that would be the. I'd like to include them both. That's kind of why I was thinking something like that. But it's hard because, I mean, the closest that ever did that is like maybe, oddly, Battlestar Galactica or something. So.
I don't know.
I think what he was talking about was that the guy was the sort of truth seeker was seeking to prevent a cataclysm, and he found solutions.
All prepare for it.
Past ones. So
I'll just prepare for it.
Like building bunkers and stuff that we think that some of them are for
building
type of
bunkers.
things.
Well, then he would look like a prepper or a nutter.
Well, that's literally Noah, right? Noah is the ultimate prepper. There you go. In fact, that might explain why Noah, we all try to be right. Now it's like, no, Noah was right. I'll be right too. You know, you're betting that the world is going to end exactly this part of time during your lifetime. You know.
Yeah, those the doomsday phenomenon. Actually, if a guy says the world is going to end, he would be completely indistinguishable than the many other people who say it. So that's going to be an issue too.
True. Yeah.
Let's see, what else? What else is this story going to need to have? A truth seeker, an impeding disaster. So it's kind of going to be like Superman and Kal-El
a betrayal.
Zor-El, huh?
I always like betrayals. I'm just saying that. Okay, don't worry about it.
I don't know if it's going to... I don't know. It might have a betrayal. I don't know if it needs to. Because so far we have a subject, but we don't have a team. And we need to think of one. I'll give it to 10 different authors, and you're going to get 20 different teams you can explore. So the question is, which team should we choose when there is an infinite amount of teams? You know, this is where we get back to our nihilistic idea of a nihilistic type movie with
Wouldn't it be
EUT.
nice to have something about growth, maybe, or maturing?
I'm just going to finish the point on nihilism. I'm just going to finish the point on nihilism on the subject. So imagine just a nihilistic view of this stuff happening. I mean, you're going to have the seeker guy, and he's going to know it, but it's not going to mean anything because his attempts are going to be futile. They don't have to be futile that, nobody listens to him and everything's gone and it's a tragedy. Bad endings don't have to be nihilistic. Bad endings can even be life-affirming in their own way, like Antigone or Sophocles or With a Living or Ice. Oh, no, that's a good ending.
The Professional.
So, huh?
No, I'm just thinking of Leon.
Yeah, that had an affirming. It wasn't a very good movie, if you ask me. Some people liked it. That had a affirming movie in a way, a foaming ending in a way, in its funny way. It's like, oh, okay, he's a person now, and she can live her life knowing that, blah 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 blah.
Well, yes, but at the end, he was also the bad guy too. Like it was weird that the bad guy was the good guy and the good guy was the bad guy. I love that.
Good and bad. It's like.
Well, I just meant he's a cop and he's an assassin, and I was rooting for the assassin, so.
Look, it would make EUT look bad and probably funny. So, and it's not going to show it very well. He's not going to be it says the truth seeker guy is no good, and you're going to have your idea of a movie, idea of the events that transpire, or your representation of events that can transpire with verisimilitude, because it has verisimilitude, which is why you think it's events that can transpire. If you follow my logic,
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have to say, oh yeah, this is he can't grasp it. I think that will be the worst thing you can do. So you really, that's what a nihilistic type of a nihilistic movie with the EU subject matter would look like. It would look just ridiculous on the face of it, and it would make EU look even more ridiculous, because even if you did believe in EU, you wouldn't want to believe in EU if you saw the nihilistic movie with EU, because it'd be like, what's the point, man? You wouldn't want to believe in anything, probably. So we just solved that original question. Well, why can't you have a nihilistic theme to it? Because it's true. And if it's true, that implies you can have goals and values, and it implies you should be free to pursue the truth.
And sort of like the special divinity of mankind or something, or the reaffirmation of life, and how precious things really are and how connected we are. That type of stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think we're okay there.
So that's just on the technical issue of what subject to choose. Now I say because these values come together, as I said, I'm just going to give the example with this movie. Let's say there is truth, you have the truth of it, but you can't do anything about it. So goals and dreams are irrelevant. Or you have truth, but you're really not in charge to pursue them. Like, I don't know, he got these messages from he was compelled to do it by forces outside of his control. That would ruin the whole thing, and it would be a mess. Or let's just say it was a movie about freedom. I don't know how he would. I don't know how he would include the UT about freedom. Maybe Velikovsky stayed in USSR and got censored or something.
So what about this? How about
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
No, this is hard for me. This is can you give me something easy, please?
Well, I love the idea of a hard challenge, and the idea of nihilism within the context of hope. I mean, the whole idea of the EU theory is that there's this other way that's the truth, and it's the the scrappy individualist, and it's the grassroots, and all these other things. These are great little themes. The idea of nihilism as in the context of a nihilistic film, in the context of EU theory, is fascinating to the extent that I think, in the end, the message could be: there is no God, there is no devil, there is no entity working against you, there is no entity working for you. It is only you and your will, and that is, in fact, good news.
Because it's not nihilistic, though.
That's Odysseus.
Well, I'm not interested in terms. I mean, we can throw around 3-syllable words all day long. I'm talking about fiction in science, and so it doesn't matter to me that it's strictly nihilistic. It matters to me that it's strictly science fiction. That's the theme, not nihilism. So my point is that if you present a nihilist perspective in the context of a character in a film, and that nihilism then becomes the theme, or the outcome of that nihilist perspective is there is no this, there is no that, but there is this. I think that then becomes quite it's kind of like the message, the mood of what you're trying to accomplish there is interesting to the extent that you end up with this sort of not what you expected, not what you hoped for, but it's like you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes,
it's about the expectation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think don't
ever do that. That would make the audience hate you. That's a patented way to get the audience to want to destroy you.
Has been hating me for years, and it hasn't done me a damn good bit of problem. So.
It hasn't done you any good. Like, look at Owen Johnson, the guy who made the Last Jedi.
Oh my God, we don't even talk about that. Like, literally, if I saw him, I'd punch him, and I would. You just go, oh, that's the Ryan Johansson, the guy that made the Last Jedi. And I go, oh, really? I just walk over, punch him. That would be, and I'd walk away. I just run. I go, I'm sorry, I don't know why I did that, but oh my God, I hate you. Like,
that's what happens when you support expectations. Also, you say nihilism, but you mean something very different than what I mean. But I don't know how to reply to you, man. I'm sorry, I'm just not that good.
Well, you're talking about meaninglessness, are we not?
Well, what do you mean by meaninglessness?
Nihilism by meaninglessness.
Nihilism means nothing. There is nothing. Nothing is real. Nothing. There is nothing.
I'm familiar with the definition. I'm breaking it down for the purpose of conversation.
Do you want me to break it down because I've done this before? Okay.
Well, you already did. You already told us what you think nihilism is. What I'm saying is I think nihilism ultimately means meaninglessness. That's my proposal.
Nihilism in aesthetics means no beauty, and ethics means no morality, no good and wrong, no life. In epistemology and knowledge, it means no truth, and in metaphysics, it means no existence.
Right. So if the electric universe doesn't love you or hate you, there is no intention against you or for you, but you exist simultaneously and in conjunction with the universe, that is a kind of a nihilist, a positive viewpoint from a nihilist. I'm saying.
I just said,
if you create a character who is a nihilist, who comes to the conclusion that there is no good, there is no evil, there is no enemy, there is no friend, there is just electricity, that is kind of an interesting...
Yeah, it's only the first.
Pardon?
No, because that wouldn't be nihilism. It would just be a guy who leaves religion in the most
But here's the point.
Quasi-humanism.
Nihilism is not the subject of this conversation, and I'm curious to see how everything that's presented to you becomes something in critique of. So I'm not a nihilist. This isn't a podcast about nihilism. It's a podcast about, because I am presenting a character in the context of a dilemma, which is the nature of this podcast. So presenting nihilist as a standard by which things are measured seems to be not a productive way to perpetuate conversation.
I don't know what to say. I'm sorry, I'm just confused.
I seem to have that effect on you. I kind of like it.
I get confused really easily. I get confused really easily if I don't know what exactly we're talking about. Don't take it personally.
No,
I just don't know what we're talking about.
I'm just simply making observations like you are, and it's interesting that every time
I just fail to see what your
response is, I don't have any idea what to say. But you have lots of.
I don't. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I just think this is a conversation, and we're having it, and that's what's happening right now. Nihilism isn't the topic of the conversation. The topic of the conversation is science fiction.
Look, I gave nihilism as an example because I said that you can't have a movie like this with part of the subject is true. You want to show that EUT is true. If you say it's true, you got to show it's one of the values that come with the other two major values that people have believed in since the times of the Greeks, okay? And if you say nihilism means, again, in aesthetics, no beauty.
Right.
In morality,
so when you
no good and right, no morality.
Listen, I don't need an additional definition of nihilism. When you are saying, I don't think the audience does either, I'm sorry to be rude, but that I just don't need another definition of nihilism. What I'm asking is, what do you think about the idea of Fargo as a movie that presents nihilism, and how could that be used as a theme in EU theory? And when I presented, but you brought up nihilism, and
I gave it as an example of nihilism,
right. And so as one of the panelists, I'm riffing on what you're saying, and the minute I riff on what you're saying, you say that's not true, and I don't believe it. So I guess I don't really understand why did you bring up Fargo as a film, and how does that?
I didn't say I don't believe it. It's definitely a movie that exists. I mean,
I don't know what you say or don't say. I'm asking you to tell me. I don't need you to. I guess I don't see the point of continually being contrarian to the extent that you brought up nihilism. You brought up the film Fargo. What is your point, sir?
I said the point already a few times. I said if you're going to have something in the subject that you want to show is true, you're going to have a team that affirms all of the rest of the other two values that come with truth. Nihilism isn't one of them. But then you say, nihilism means this and this.
So you brought up nihilism
because I wanted to show you. Wait. Look, you talk. No, I'm telling you, this is impossible to do and have people take EUT seriously. I mean, you can write it, but it's going to be like what the cast of Star Wars said about the text of George Lucas. You can type this stuff, but you can't say it. George Lucas writes horrible dialogue.
Right.
Yes, he does.
I've heard that.
So the whole point of nihilism as a concept in film was a way for you to show what not to do, as opposed to
what can't be done seriously. What can't be done seriously? It's impossible. It's like, hey, I want you to pay me $100 and not $100 at the same time. Yeah, flat out contradiction. Now you can't do it. So it's not an actual contradiction. But for it to be an artistic product, and product I mean something that comes from something with integrity, with artistic integrity, that's just impossible. That's like. You
Well,
have something that's
I
read
guess
and not read at the same time.
I struggle with words that are finalist and absolute.
What do you mean
When you
finalist?
Finalist, imagine it. If you're a finalist in a show, that means you're the last one standing.
I know about that. I don't know what you mean by ideas
Okay.
that are final. Like, you mean ideas that aren't open-ended?
So we do a lot of defining words. I'm not sure that that's interesting to me. I just don't. I don't want to spend my time defining words. I don't see it useful. I guess I'm kind of saying I think this conversation isn't substantive. Why have we spent so much time talking about nihilism if it's not a point that you want to make or believe in? What do you believe in?
I just gave it as an example. Look, I believe in.
Why?
I believe in nihilism.
Why?
Why do I believe in nihilism?
Why?
Because I believe it's true.
Well, okay.
You look at man and you say,
about it, and let's talk about it. Like I don't understand.
Do you want to talk about my movie? Because I
want to figure out how the fucking conversation with you is going to work. I don't see how conversations with you are effective. I don't have the ability. Every time I say something, you say, "Well, I don't know. I have no idea what that is." I mean, I don't see the point of me being here. I'm not trying to be a dick. I just think that you're a terrible guest, and I don't see your point.
Okay, well,
I mean, I'm
sorry.
honest. Like,
I can't please everyone all the time.
What are you bringing to the table? What do you have to offer? Like, I don't want to talk about nihilism with someone who doesn't have any interest in nihilism. What in the world are you trying to say?
I'm not a screenwriter about nihilism. I'm just giving it as an example because it's a very popular type of
my suggestion to you is that you talk about what you believe in and what you care about and what you love and what you like. And I don't want to hear any more about what you don't think and what you don't like and what you don't believe in and what you don't think is true. Because we all have long lists of what we think isn't true. But we all have long lists of what we don't believe in. We all have long lists of how we've been treated badly and how the world sucks. I come to the show to learn something new, and I'm struggling to find a way to extract something of value from your participation in this conversation. I don't see you being anything.
I don't know what to tell you.
You're contrarian in every single thing that comes up is contrary to everything. So I am perfectly comfortable being wrong, and I think it's rude for me to be attacatory toward a guest on the show. But I have to be honest about my feelings. What the fuck are you trying to say?
About what? About
anything.
The thing I'm trying to say.
Anything that isn't what you don't believe.
The thing I'm trying to say is that a movie where you want to present something as being true, and it's important that it's true, needs to also have the rest of the values that come with truth.
And
do you get that? And they are.
So something is true, it should be true, and it should come with the values that are truth.
I want to interject.
No, truth is.
I don't know. Sean, this is Sean. So, like, I'm listening to this is Sean here. I'm a communications media student from the Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and I'm listening to the guest, and I'm in communications media mode right now. So it's not personal, anything against the EU. It's about, how you would put it in movie form. I think he's just expressing his different ideas about film openly in terms of how would you pretty much sell it. Where are people going to go see, watch, what's more interesting? How do you incorporate the themes into it? And my mind is brainstorming, even at this point in time, from what he's saying as a communications media guy.
No,
so
it's not.
I get where he's saying. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying from a different paradigm then.
Well,
I think a lot of people would like to know what the what doesn't work, but what the component parts are, so that what are those three things, and what we can do with those things. I think people are interested in that.
Guys, can you hear me? I just had a connection to the video chat is no longer. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep.
Okay, that was weird. I just got
did you want an update on what people are talking about on the?
I understand Duffy's point too.
Yeah, we're not having a problem. They're having it with the other.
Excuse me. I thought something concerned me.
Oh no, that was
what
just that was just me telling them. I basically, because I reconnected, it's connected fine, the video's up, but I can't see the chat anymore. So if you guys could just keep watching that, I wanted to see what people were saying, but I can't see that. So please, if you could, Rick. Anyway, please go on, guys. I'm enjoying this. This is so making my heart pump. So
yeah. So even from a communications media stance, I just watched, and I hate to plug a show, but I was watching Lost in Space, the new episodes.
Wow.
And it still has the basic theme. I mean, it's different than when I was a kid, because I'm that old. It's different than the movie, which I didn't really like that much. But they pretty much put the pilot within one full season, and the themes, with science fiction are still the same. Hey, there's a black hole. Oh my God, we have to get off the planet now. But they're putting the electric stuff in the whole series to where there's a planet where where there's a planet where the robots come from. Remember Danger Will Robinson? He's a different type of robot. Now there's a breed of these robots, and their planet has electrical capabilities at the equator. It seems like what would be the equator, with hieroglyphs and charges come through like boom, 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 boom. So they keep mainstream people know about black holes, but they're introducing themes within it that I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. But what if it was no black hole? It's like, no, the charge, because the sun's getting ready to be overcharged. We have to get out of here now. Come on, let's go. I see what you're saying, yeah. Oh, yeah, I get it that way. I get it. I get what he's saying. Even like from your source work you use for movie production, because we studied Lucas in college because I'm so old. You're looking for editing flaws. That's what they taught us first. Writing is different. Either way, he visually, his interpretation in his head, he did it visually with errors. There's errors in it. Now we're at a point with technology, essentially, that themes could be added into science fiction movies. Now we have to get out into hyperspace. No, there's no such thing as hyperspace. There's a Birkeland current you have to find. What time is it? Okay, we got to catch the current. Get away, get away. Bring the fleet toward the current. Hit the current, and we can get out. Then you're gone. You kind of feel where I just went with that abstractly. So I'm just having an enjoyment with the call, with the phone call and what he's saying.
Yeah.
Well, but it's introducing it to it. It's the technology is part of the way you do it. Lucas, man, look, when I got enthralled with Lucas in college, well, before that, and started looking at Campbell's mythology and where he got his themes from, I was like, oh hell, you can take an old thing, you got to put a spin on it so people will enjoy it. And you're not just talking about the mythology, you're putting your own spin on it. Put a spin on it, and hey, we have a lightsaber. Boo. Now, where'd that come from? That's rare Egyptian art, though. It's like that the Duat story shows in Third Register.
It came from Flash Golden.
The swords light up. They had swords that weren't lit up versus swords that were lit up. Like, oh shit, that's pretty decent. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying? It's a plasma weapon. What is that? It's just a mystical crystal. When you put it in, and you have these electronic parts that make this saber that goes boom, and you can cut anything with it except another saber or the dark saber. But it's a plasma weapon. Like, okay, pretty inventive, decent. So just put the EU
comes
into
from
the
Flash
whole
Golden,
thing.
though.
Still put the EU into the whole thing. Throw it in there how you got to throw it in there. Doesn't have to be a story about the EU and even.
You can talk about. You can add gimmicks, but it can add gimmicks, but gimmicks never. What do you call it? Never amount to anything. They're a gimmick. You just, unless you have the type of person that remembers gimmicks like you or Neil, that people just forget it. Right. I still remember the gimmick from. I barely remember it. Anyone saw Godzilla? Where they're like, oh, I get it. They're explaining it like this and that. What's his face? Hydra. What's the face of the three-headed dragon? Ghidorah? And Ghidorah's like an alien from space, and it's like Venus. And
we talked about that. It was great.
Yeah, I saw that. That was really cool. I saw it. Like, hey, it is like that, and they sell Maldek. That's a really cool gimmick, and I fucking don't remember anything else about that movie because it was shit. So, like, even I, who really liked it, can say, yeah, it's shit, and I have no reason to remember it. That's another thing you gotta go to. You gotta go to when talking about this. Is why would you remember a piece of art?
Because it's good.
What makes it good?
You identify with the people. You connect with them, and you feel you care about their development and how they're going. I suppose that's how it works with Harry Potter.
You don't know how. Never done.
Well, my
But
investment,
some
for
pieces
example,
of art, people don't like them. Like
I've watched Fight Club probably, I don't know, 30 times. So, yeah, I guess you can
I
get
watch
really
Fight
into
Club
it.
a lot too.
Yeah, because it's identify with his realization. In fact, I often think that there is more to it than that. Like some of the people are really not even real, and he's totally insane. Like there's so many great stories there which we cannot talk about. There's rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You made the rules. It's your show.
No. There's rules of Fight Club. Shh. We said too much. There's two.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The first two rules of Fight Club
stuff.
is you do not talk about Fight Club, and the second rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
Look, the Iliad is a very old story. Achilles is a very hard individual to identify with. It's not. I mean, look, you can do it upside down. You can do it top down, but you should be like everything else, empirical, and look at the things that have survived the test of time, and see why they have done as they did.
I mean, but Odysseus is more like us. I mean, we can identify with him.
Yeah. It's easier to, even though, he's kind of a jerk. I mean, it's very hard for, I think even people, when they read Odysseus, were like, I can't identify with this guy. He's really a jerk, but they still want him to go home. Poor guy. We identify more with his son, Tuchiman.
I don't actually know his son's name.
I forgot the name of Odysseus' son. It's Tumenico, I think. I identify more with his son than his wife, but the story's about him still, so.
Odysseus and his son Stay-at-Homicus. I thought it was hilarious. Anyway.
So anyways, look, if you want people to remember the stuff you write, you actually need to look at things that have survived the test of time and see what made them.
Leo, have you ever read any Stephen Baxter? Have you heard of the author Stephen Baxter?
I think that's Stephen King. Maybe not. No. Never read him.
Yeah, there's a Stephen King, and there's also a Stephen Baxter. He's actually done some work with Arthur C. Clarke, written a couple novels, but he's done quite a bit of his own too. I would recommend Stephen Baxter as he's a really good read. There's a series of books he did. I'm looking at a couple of them here, but there's Manifold Time, Manifold Space, and let's see what else. There's a Manifold series, and there's 3 of them, and he's really made it's hard science fiction. I think that sounds like more what you're interested in.
It's more like we all want to see. Really, we don't want science fantasy. I think we want.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, no science fantasy.
I think there's certainly a place for science fantasy, and I
like Star Wars.
No, there is. It's not with EOT.
Yeah.
But Stephen Baxter is a really great author, and I think he might be right up your alley.
So it's like Jules Verne style of sci-fi, like, Jules Verne wrote about a submarine before there was a submarine, even though it's not how a submarine works, but like everything except the technical detail, Verne nailed down.
Yeah, the concept was sound, I guess. From his point of view, it makes sense that you would eventually have that.
It makes sense from our point of view too, except it's a sense here and there,
1902, they thought we'd go to the moon, so I thought it was pretty cute.
One guy in the chat says, "Can you read it?" You're supposed to read it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where are we at here?
And someone mentions this now. Leo, have you seen Maximum Overdrive?
No.
It's a ridiculous movie. I mean, it makes no sense at all. A comet appears, and everything that's electrical starts attacking people. Blenders, cars. It makes almost no sense.
A thermostat isn't electrical.
Well,
there are electrical thermostats. Okay.
But like you're saying with verisimilitude, that movie has zero verisimilitude. Like hard rock
you don't want to believe it.
Yeah, it can still be enjoyable. It's a titillation,
I guess maybe we need a balance for that. I don't know.
equipment you have. Resources, actors and directors included too, and money. That's the technical definition.
Well, I'm just calling I'm just mentioning it
okay.
in terms of quality. You know, quality of the movie, whether it has staying power or doesn't, A or B. You know.
By the way, a lot of the great movies of the 40s, 50s, 60s, the film noirs, were actual B movies. Like Casablanca was a B movie. It was made with a B tier of resources the studio had.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, it was kind of, it was just a few sets and then the mock-up of a plane. We always had Paris, you know. Yeah, I suppose.
So don't knock B movies. That's what I'm saying. You know, it's like I'm planning on making a movie for a budget of $50,000.
I love Pi and Evil Dead. So yeah.
Today I can make a movie for incredibly cheap. The equipment is cheap. The studio equipment, the digital equipment cost is free essentially if you use open source, which you should. Actors can work. Actors will work for exposure nowadays because that's how it is, especially if it's your first time. It is incredible. You still gotta pay them obviously too, but still, that's. Anyways, do you want to hear about the project I'm working on?
Yes, I'd love to hear that.
All right. So I'm just gonna whip up the log line.
Yep.
I have it written down. I should have opened it, but I had to close my internet because it crashed because I have a horrible computer. What?
No, the same thing happens with my laptop. I understand you.
Yeah, okay. I have a laptop. I don't have a PC. Okay, so 2089, the world is covered by dust. A ring with building floats above the earth. Tyler and his best friend Jake get by running a garage on Earth. Leonard joins them. It turns out that Leonard is responsible for the dust. His engine caused the ecological disaster. It was pirated and used against his intentions. Clementine, Leonard's niece, visits. She and Tyler cloud gaze on the roof. A dust devil ignites. Tyler has a eureka moment. Tyler has decided to live with a purpose and fix the world. Tyler and Jake go to the racetrack for data. No use. Their only option is to race. Tyler and Jake observe Dust Devil. Tyler charges in. Gets hit by lightning. Later, Clementine tells Tyler to stop. He keeps going. She leaves. Leonard reluctantly decides to help them. The two make an engine in a race car. They name it Duster. The two need to prove their invention in a race to get a patent. Leonard warns Tyler that his spark will get snuffed out. Clementine tries to stop Tyler from racing. Race time. Tyler has a eureka moment again. He says goodbye to Jake and Clementine. Dust ignition. It worked. Tyler collapses. He wakes up in the hospital to find his engine in the public domain. Jake gave it to bring hope to people. Clementine encouraged him due to cynicism. Tyler is shattered. He meets Leonard. He begs for an answer. Just how it is, kid, he says. Tyler storms off with Duster into the Badlands. Its nameplate becomes obscured by dust. A decade later, Tyler is now known as Star, the most successful space racer in history. His fame doesn't concern him. Tyler declares that he will quit racing after the Century Cup. The ecological disaster is worse. The Duster engine has been misused. Tyler meets Clementine. He has nothing to say. Meanwhile, Jake is now known as Dust Devil. He has tried to fix things. He has given up. He meets Tyler to tell him that he is going to stop him in the race. Later, Clementine saves Jake's life. He tells her that he will die and Tyler might die also. Clementine tries to stop the race. The race is on. In space, Jake is about to crash into Tyler when, and minor spoilers, he manages to make a huge discovery. He managed to show off a huge discovery that is electrical in nature. That's the story in its short form.
Oh, that's actually pretty cool because you can.
That's awesome.
Storyboard. That's a storyboard right there.
No, that's a synopsis. That's a synopsis.
I pictured it as a storyboard though. I had to do it that way. Boom, 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 boom. Great. That was great.
Yeah. I'm pretty like that. I'm pretty plain. I just write stuff that happens. I describe stuff that happens, not too much.
Nice.
Like I'm not kidding with you. The most flowery sentence in the script is two racers alone among the stars.
Right,
Yeah, it's
right.
pretty true. They're just floating in space.
Nice.
There's no one around them. That's the
Nice.
most flowery. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see your storyboard in my head. That's what I was interpreting as you were saying.
Yeah, that's what this thing is for. You want to do it and have a guy who knows the job say, "Oh, I get this. This is what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
I want to get on
I
it."
see
I'm
that.
like, I'm doing this.
I see that. Like boom, 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 boom. Okay, cool. Cool.
It's just
Nice.
part of the. It's part of the profession, really. It's not for lay people who aren't involved in this job.
Right. I've read enough scripts to know that I don't want to read any more scripts.
Script writing is like reading, notes, musical notes without any music. It's not for everyone, man.
Oh no! Well, it was more like I'm sitting there and I'm like, someone goes, "They released a script of that," and I'm sitting there flipping through it, and I go, "That's not them. That's crap." Like I know they wouldn't write that,
A lot of scripts get changed in production. It's true, but some don't, and I hope this one doesn't either. So. Actually, I know this one isn't gonna. I'm gonna produce it. I'm gonna have full control of what happens. If it's gonna change, it's gonna be because me or the director decided to. I'm not directing this. I can't direct to save my life. But at least to get a guy who can do it, who's better at physics than me.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So I'm. It's part of what a producer does. I decided early on that I'm more fit to be the big picture producer, and the other guy is the one who does all of the OCD stuff.
So now you have to write to Bill Murray and see if he'll be in it, right?
Right to what?
Bill Murray? Oh
no, don't. Here's
William Shatner.
Don't. Here's the. Yeah. Get Sittner. No, here's the thing. Don't get big name actors. The bigger the what do you call it? The bigger the budget, the less freedom you have with the actors you can cast, because you got to hire actors who justify. Being part of the movie as part of the budget. Like a $10 million movie, got to pay.
It was just that everyone sort of invites him to be on things, and they never know if he's going to be in them until he shows up, and he goes, "I'll play that part." That's how he got on Zombieland. They wrote him and asked him, and he just shows up in the friggin' movie. It's like, how did you get him? He goes, he showed up on set, and he said he'd like to play this part, and we said, okay. Like, okay.
I'm not a big fan of Noe.
Well,
Ghostbusters was actually pretty good for a sci-fi movie, except the science was bullcrap.
That movie, well, anything with that guy with the red hair in it, if he's the bad guy, is about
the
science.
Guy with the hair,
the red hair, the guy that that was in the office with the mayor, and he's the bad guy. He's the same bad guy in. I totally lost it again.
something else.
Sorry, I'm getting.
If lay people say it, well.
Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
I mean, this is not. So that's what one thing that makes a scientific movie into a scientific movie, and not just a bunch of technobabble. So technobabble is literally that. It's stuff that's supposed to be scientific, but is completely divorced from the scientific method. So you just can't figure out what's going on. So it's unscientific in a real sense.
Right.
Because science is, again, so I'm going to repeat this 5 million times but it's still true. Science is not subject, it's method. And if it doesn't have anything to do with the scientific method, or the method that is known as the scientific method, it is pointless. Like in this movie, they make a lot of discoveries. At one point, they have to figure out how to make the dust. There is dust. They found a way that if they can use the dust dust in a dust devil in order to conduct a current that burns the dust. But because there is different densities and temperatures for air, they needed to to adjust their engine to the dust, to the air at particular points. And then at a race, they figured, oh, hey, look, there's an updraft. And they know that the air of the updraft is really hot.
Right.
But the air of the updraft is really cold compared to the rest of the air. And then they say, oh, yeah, that must be. And the guy's holding a thermopile in his hand. And he says, oh, It's a thermopile.
That I like that part.
That's just an example. Now, this is again going back to Bacon. This is a prerogative instance. How can you show prerogative instance? How can you show storm is electrical in nature? Well, it acts like a thermopile. You have air at different current densities. Now, you can't demonstrate this because we don't have the. I guess you could demonstrate it. I don't know what the tools would be, but it would be pointless because we know this already. So you'd have no, because we have that already. That's another example of a prerogative instance, or another thing that tells another prerogative instance is he's charging inside the dust devil with his car. He has goggles on. The goggles have a filter on them because you have Ireland syndrome. That's a real thing. It's not in the movie at all.
Right.
In the movie at all, he sees. Ireland syndrome.
Well, I know that we have the same thing with snow.
Not the same. I don't know.
I know we have to wear certain things to protect us against snow blindness. But anyway, keep going.
I don't think that's the same thing. But anyways, he has that. That's not part of the movie. He sees that. He sees a little bolt of lightning, a stream of electricity inside the dust devil. And when the stream moves left, the dust devil moves left. And it moves right, it moves right. And then it's in the description it says the current the current dances and the whirlwind follows its lead. That's a cool description, ain't it?
That's a cool description, yeah. Okay, I see what you're going. Well,
that's a good description, but it's accurate. It's legitimately accurate. It's like this goes left, it goes left. This goes right, it goes right.
Which I guess that harkens back to what was it? It is a thunderbolt that sears the universe from Herodotus or something.
I don't remember that from Herodotus.
It's from. It was actually something written on the thunderbolts, and I saw it at the beginning of like a movie or something. It says the thunderbolt that steers the universe, and it says Herodotus, and gave a date. But I'm pretty sure it was Don Scott that quoted it or something. But
yeah, that could be possible. So that's just an example of how they perform discovery in that thing. They have to actually have them discover the thing to make it scientific and give it verisimilitude. And later, this is spoiler territories, but so I'm going to be very careful what I say. Later, Tyler is demonstrating something he's going to do, and he demonstrates on a tiny electrical, on a vacuum with electricity in it.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's done, it's still there. And then he reproduces the effect in a big scale, and it's also been pretty much established beforehand how plasma scales.
Right.
Which is fantastic for me because that means I can make huge special effects for nothing, in essence.
I'm looking forward to seeing some of that actually, because I could envision it. I could already see how to make a sphere and how you'd probably do it, and you just have to make it look like it has water on it.
I'm also trying to think of it, but yeah, it is water.
Anyway, please go on.
You can just paint it blue in order to have it have water. That's one of the things I am willing to. No, you're not going to see the water because it's all obscured by dust.
Well,
you just got to make it dusty.
Right, I suppose that works out.
Just got to make it dusty.
It's even easier. Excellent. Cheaper budget.
I'm lazy. Yeah, that's money from my pocket. Marketing.
They'll never know the difference. They'll never know the difference.
They really wouldn't. They really wouldn't.
Well, because it would look pretty real. I mean, I could see. I mean, electrostatic repulsion will get dust to float, and you can start changing that by changing the grain size and everything. It's great.
Yeah, I've been starting to think about it. Also, I want some white clouds, but I think that's just easier with lights. Like, yeah, I'm gonna sign a white light on here, and it's gonna look white. Or just have all of them be white and just have like the ones that aren't like that. I don't know. I still have to figure it out. Anyways, also there is an inventor. The original invention works by separating the barrier between a positively charged ground and the negatively charged atmosphere. Wait, did I just mix it up?
Well, it depends on what world you're on, but for us, it's negative ground, positive atmosphere.
Yeah. Negative ground, positive atmosphere by means of peaks of Schumann resonance. I forgot the exact theory behind how it should work. Believe me, if I knew how it would work, I'd patent it and make $1 million. I'm kidding. I make more money than that. But let me see, what was I gonna say? Yeah, and then they discover that using the Schumann resonance, they can open up the rift or the barrier between positive charge and negative charge. Later, he simply does it in space. I gave up too much. No, later he simply does it in space, and that creates a nebula that creates. He does it in space through Z-pins. His friend is riding with him. He's on a Birkeland current. Them getting together works to connect the charge. This is where this can't be done technically, I believe. But he basically applies the same principle in space. Now, it's not going to be obvious from a guy watching this that, oh, this is how, EUT works. It's like, no, that's part of it. Sure. The part of it that's good in, the part of it that might be true in principle, but unfeasible in reality, because again, it's like a submarine. The idea is for a submarine to solid.
I was able to use that. Like, I mean, he didn't know exactly how the submarine would work, but because he didn't exactly throw stuff in the water and figure it out, because you don't understand what you need for ballast, how to keep it level, like all these problems that you didn't even know you had.
He was busy writing a book, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's not his job to know it. I mean, go talk to the experts. Who? The people who jump down in diving bells? That's the only experts we got, right?
That's all they know. Well, I guess shipbuilders, maybe.
Well, you know what I mean, but there's so few things. I mean, he was basically, this is the first idea that I had, and it didn't matter. His idea was, there's a ship that can go underwater.
No, he did the research.
Done. But...
He actually did the research, I think. I did a lot of research for this, man. I swear to you, half of writing this thing was me doing research. I was already into EUT before that. Also, not just research about EUT.
I have been into the EU theory. I've been into EU theory 3/4 of your life.
You're going to tell people how old I am. So that.
Oh, I won't tell them that. That would be wrong. They know you're not married. That's scary enough, right? Don't worry about it. It's just kidding. You're fine. Don't ever go. Thanks. It's a trap, man. It's a trap.
It's a trap. Yeah. Anyway, so that's just an example of how you can solve the principles, like the submarine. That might be true in this, but still, I would say that, I don't know, if you would quantify it by percentages, the amount of stuff, the amount of EUT stuff in the script, in terms of how much time it takes, it's not even 5%, man. Well, it's not even 5%. There's more racing in the movie, and racing is only like 8%.
There were only, in the original Jurassic Park, there were only 8 minutes of dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it. 8 minutes.
Yeah, fine. Whatever. Cool.
Well, no, but I'm just saying the story, that's still a great movie because the stories were about discovery and everything else like that. And the acting was good. And of course, you had Jeff Goldblum walking around there with Life Finds a Way.
It has good production values. It has great production values. That's the thing that it has going.
Yeah, what was his name there? Spielberg, of course.
Spielberg.
Yeah,
Spielberg. Everyone knows who Spielberg is. You know what Spiel means in Yiddish?
Talk too much?
Spiel means game. Like Craig Spiel was the original name of War Games.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So he made the movie Ready Player One, which is a movie about games. So he's the game man making a movie about games.
Which should never have been made. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was okay.
Well, sure, if all you want is just one intense green screen high. Jeez.
Look, it's a movie in virtual reality, like.
No, I get that. That's why it was sort of acceptable, right? Like, I mean, if you're going to watch Lawnmower Man, you have to go into 3D world, I understand.
Anyways,
I mean, at least it had a story to it.
It had a good story to it.
That's what I meant, yeah. At least it had a story to it.
Good. And a schmaltzy, because, Luke, because, Spielberg is the schmaltz means chicken fat in Yiddish, but it means artificially sentimental in normal language. I like definitions. They help with clarity. But anyways, look, this is the thing I wrote. It has... Not exactly. Well, what is pumped up? What is too much? So
yeah, I guess you're right.
Anyways, so So this is the thing I wrote. Now, does it have EU stuff in it? Definitely. Is it the main thing? No. Do you have to know or care or even think EU is true in order to enjoy it? If you're from the conformist type who think that EUT is the devil's spawn and it's like voodoo or whatever, you're not going to enjoy it, but you're probably not going to engage with anything you don't already agree with, so you're not going to engage with it. So, no. No, the story is about an inventor, and it's natural for an inventor to discover stuff and use it.
Yeah.
Or an inventor and a scientist, but that's kind of the same thing at the end of the day. So that's the project I wrote. I have another one in the works, and I'm also working on a big space epic where they do have to get onto Birkeland currents in order to ride. But there are pirates who go off the current with nuclearly powered ships in order to raid and pillage.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I like
And
that.
they have
So
to go
basically,
into
it's like highwaymen of old.
Yeah, they go off the highway. They get the guys on the highway. Boom, boom, boom. Got it. Go.
That's actually pretty neat. I always wondered how we would deal with these rivers or that we're sailing across. How would
You just go off the current. You know, do what pirates did. You just go off the current, you float around, and then you go on back on the trade routes and pillage.
we need?
It's really hard to get there.
You need some woman to lose her marbles though, like so because it's would have to be in there because it's so like hanging a lantern on it, but. Well, rich people would have to get robbed because that's the trope, highwayman.
Oh, I thought they just dropped merchants or like military ships or whatever.
No, they usually ran away from people that were bigger than them.
I don't know. I don't know. No, because here's the thing: pirate ships weren't about bombing ships into and plundering them. That would be bad. You wouldn't get any of the cargo. Pirate ships were about, hey, they have more cannons than us, but we really want to fight, and these guys don't even. Most sailors were drafted into it. They were press ganged, so to speak. So they just board. So they just ram into them full speed, board, and start slashing. And they can't use bullets. They have to use nerfed laser weapons because if they use a bullet, the whole ship explodes. So it's kind of like in Dune.
Right.
Well, there's a nuclear reactor if you use a blaster.
Things in here do not respond well to bullets. Yeah. And for Red October. Sean Connery, things in here do not respond well to bullets. His.
Yeah, okay. I remember. I'm not kidding with you. I once saw a gun that had a tiny bullet. It wasn't even a .22. It was a .11 or something, and it was only used for security on airplanes. And people used it for training, apparently, because, it's a ridiculously small weapon, bullet. So use it for training all the time.
I like 22s myself. Only because they don't make my ears pop.
Yeah.
Because they don't break the sound barrier.
Yeah. Anyways, that's how you would do it in space. That's how you would do it in space. Just have it to be like a casual part of the space travel. Oh, we're just riding the current in order to go places. Not. Also, here's the best thing about AUT and sci-fi: you don't have to rack your head about how they go faster than light.
Right.
It's like, how do you go faster than light? We just press the gas.
Yeah, we just keep going faster. The rule. Is. Because once you explain the rule of what we're attached to and then what makes this go faster and whatever that is, you realize that, and so it's going faster, we're going faster. If you get closer to the middle current, you're going to be going faster in that direction. If you want to go the other way, be one level up, all that kind of stuff. And
so there are forward streams and backward streams, and the spaces between them, and also there are some streamers. I guess there are some streamers in it that you could latch onto to get to tiny planets.
Yeah.
Also, there wouldn't.
And also, a lot of these things like us, like, for example, our solar system is sort of like attached to the side of one of these streams.
Yeah.
We're not really in it, like it's very interesting.
So to get from our solar system to the big current, you're just going to have to go on a detour. So we're kind of going to be like on the detour place. We're not going to be pretty central in the current, which is going to suck. So, like, I'm trying to think of a place everyone knows in geography where you have to make a pit go on a detour, but I can't think of one.
Well, like the first stop, like everyone goes to a certain point from the solar system to get to the main current.
Yeah.
So you go in that direction. You have to go that way.
Yeah, so it's like One Piece. Okay, so in One Piece they have basically like it's really contrived in One Piece. You have like there's the world and there's a big supercontinent that causes it, and there are tons of islands everywhere. But there's like a belt in the middle that's called the Grand Line. And if you go on this one, you gotta have to follow certain islands until you get to the end of the line, but you need a special thing to find the end of the line. It's really contrived, but in space it will just be like, yeah, you just follow the current in space.
Right.
Like,
no, well, yeah, because you
don't have.
you have to like you have so much inertia when you go in, which would mean the one that you would arrive at a certain, you would slow down at a certain ring that you want to go to, because one will be going in one direction, one will be going in the other, right? So you want to be on the right one.
Yeah.
You don't want to have to turn around and go back because you took a wrong turn. That'd be hilarious. Oh, no, wrong planet, guys. Sorry.
That wouldn't be hilarious. That would be a plot point.
Well, I suppose.
Also, you'd obviously have in a galaxy, you'd have like the center of the galaxy be in the center of the current, so you could just go there. And that would be probably the dominant empire. And
Oh yeah, and of course because they want to be closer to the main galactic current, so they could shoot themselves out further. Yeah, I'd like that. That's good, because all roads end there.
So that would be the center of the empire. All roads lead to Rome, so to speak. So here you just build Rome where all the roads lead to, or space Rome.
Oh my God, that's what I was doing in my head. Empire. And then suddenly I went, no, I can't do that because they're going to be called Romulans.
No, don't do Rome. Just do something.
Gosh darn Romulans and the Tal Shiar.
What about Remusens?
The
Remus was the water of Romulus.
Yeah, but they're the
that's actually a thing in Star Trek.
Of course, yeah.
No, start. Enough, no Star
I know,
Trek.
it'll start happening. I gotta stop talking. Talk about Shinzon. Don't talk about Shinzon! Picard clones. Anyways, that was fantastic. I'm glad. This is the type of thing that we need now, and obviously I'm glad that you're doing this, and obviously if there's people out there who can help this poor gentleman with what he's trying to do, I mean, this is the type of stuff that we'd like to see.
Not pro.
Huh?
Not pro.
You're not pro?
Called me poor gentleman. Called me a poor gentleman. Come on.
Oh, well, that's just what we call people.
Oh, sorry.
I'm from Canada. Everyone's a poor gentleman. Do you live in Canada? Yeah. Oh, you poor gentleman.
I feel like everyone else is like all the rest of the panelists have like started playing Tetris or something.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure that Chris and James were listening because they popped a few likes here and there. Don't know about Sean, but see, I told you. Go ahead, guys. If you want to ask Leo anything, please do. This is the best time. I mean, I have already crashed 3 times, and I would like not to make it a 4th. So, if we could, I'd probably try to end this within 15 minutes. Is all I'm saying, because it's I already have a buffer that's like gigs long. So, go ahead. One of you.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed it. Thanks for coming on. I enjoyed it. This is Sean. I enjoyed it.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I really am.
I see your vision of what you presented today, where you're coming from.
I appreciate you engaging with it and saying it. I really do.
Yeah. Again, I'm trained to see it that way, though.
This is for us pros.
I get it.
It took me a while because obviously you always want to include these really good, and you realize a lot of times it's not about the humanity of the situation, and that's what makes the story engaging is the humanity, or the conflicts internally, or whatever it is, or
just to give an example, there have been countless versions of the thunderbolts of the god in some myth or another, but we remember the Greeks. Why? They're the most human of them.
Yeah. Or maybe that's the one that happened to not get hit.
No, the Greeks were way after. So.
Well, no, but they said that the Etruscan city just up the river got destroyed by a 5-mile wide lightning bolt. So
Yeah, except there were Etruscans in the time of Rome, so maybe.
Yeah, but they weren't that powerful once the gods struck down a few cities. The Romans were like,
Maybe
I'm
it is
happy
in
here.
mythology, all of the Roman
Well,
things.
of course, I don't know.
These
for
are
sure.
Latin cities. These aren't Roman cities yet. Just to be technical about it. I also have another sci-fi, or quasi-sci-fi, a fantasy thing where it starts out, yeah, this is magic, and actually, no, this is an adaptation to the cataclysmic event that involves two types of adaptations. One is a type of mitochondria that can survive by current, and the other one is a ribosome that can manipulate the Fritz London force and survive by that.
What now? I would like to think I know what that force is, but what's it relationship?
It's the one that's responsible for electrogravity.
Oh, okay.
It's the one that's responsible for electrogravity, I think. I'm not completely sure of it yet. I tried to make it.
That makes a lot of sense why I heard it and why I didn't know exactly, because they wouldn't certainly teach that to me in electrical engineering school.
The London force too is also known. I heard it in Wallace's talk about electrogravity.
I'm looking it up now. But keep going.
So I thought about that, and that is part of it. And the main plot is having a mythologist, a religionist, and I guess I can call him a scientist, inventor guy have to discover the origins of the truth of the world, and the conflict of the story is not them discovering it. That's kind of left a secret for most people. The conflict is actually what are they going to do about it, and one of them has the approach, look, let's just go on with monotheism, just divorce ourselves completely from this epoch, create gods that are better and that fit gods, find gods that are God that is better, excuse me. The other one is, look, let's go back to this epoch. This is where humanity thrived, and hope it never and make it never end. And the other one says, let's admit all of this, realize it, and learn our lessons and put it in the past and move on. Those are the three main approaches I can think of, and I think they're much more interesting than just showing it. It's, well, what do we do about it? That's another thing that I failed to mention. It's like, well, let's say we know about this stuff. What do we do now? You know, what's the implication of EUT? What's the implication of the mythological aspect of EUT?
Well, the trouble is that what would stop who would want that to not happen? Because what it would mean.
Well, what if we just had the golden age happen and make sure it doesn't end?
Well, one of the reasons that they had a golden age is because everyone sort of believed in the same type of thing, because there was no doubt. You could not but believe, because the gods are right there and they're looking at me. See his eye? He's looking at me.
Well, no, still they didn't believe. The problem with the people of the golden age is not that they were seeing these things. I mean, if we would see these things, we wouldn't. Well, we have an unfair advantage. We're scientific. We would know what it is.
Well, not if
but
you
they
were
didn't. So their problem.
Well, this is the thing.
Look, they could have. They could have just as easily explored it.
Yeah, but that's what I think. That, for example, the people we call of the actual golden age, perhaps the Cometians or ancient Egyptians, whatever you want to call them, the people who were necessarily before that, who actually still had electrical technology, that technology and the leftovers of that still managed to make it almost to the times of Rome, and to have this.
Some of it.
Well, that's what I mean. But if they had a society that was based on that, the reverence for this force or what they saw was still like working with something that was divine. So even though you were trying to be scientific, you still couldn't be a blasphemer. That's very hard to do. That's a weird fine line we're not used to.
We don't know.
Actually, it would be a good analogy for today.
Like.
Well, no, I'm trying
to. We don't know what their lives were like.
Well, no, I'm referring to because obviously they had engineers if you build the pyramids, but you have to have like how you translate the people we call priests. Well, does that really mean priest or does it mean teacher? Like, professor,
it might just mean philosopher.
Right, exactly.
And they might have just been bad philosophers. Like, I can't describe it, so I'm just gonna, say, it's a pillar, and that's a god, and that's a ship. That gets the point across. Because remember, an aspect of mythology is describing something you have no understanding of.
Yes.
That's for me, it's a very important aspect. So like we have all these guys that are trying to describe it. It's like, well, what's it like? It's like a pillar and a ship or a bullhorn, whichever one you want, and the ship goes up, and there's a star, and it's a glory. We're gonna call her the daughter. That makes it easier to remember. Great. You know, the problem with these people was they were past the descriptive phase. They couldn't say, well, it's like this and 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 this.
You have no doubt. I have no doubt that if I took a picture of the deep field view of Hubble, which just shows some galaxies, okay, and took it to
you'd find something like that.
A fisherman from an island, and they'd never seen these pictures before, and just asked him to describe them, he would go, "Oh yeah, this is a jellyfish that's kind of like this." And he would just use analogies. I mean, that would be the
because he doesn't know what it is, but he's not actually trying to understand it.
But he's also not an idiot.
No, he's not an idiot. He's
like
just
observation. Well, they didn't have that ability. I mean, it was not something that they totally figured out, or
it was not developed until the Greeks and Aristotle. Apparently, man has not learned how to use his consciousness properly to describe and understand the world around him. Like,
well, maybe he didn't have the ability to. That's another thing we talk about.
Maybe that's completely possible. I like to think that it doesn't.
Well, maybe they could when it was the golden age and things were calm. But
they had no reason to. It was like Star Trek. Why would he do anything? You know,
because
it's like,
it was so nice, right?
But what if, it's so nice. So I don't have to do effort.
At the age we call, I guess, the age of the God, Clash of the Titans, and lots of lightning strikes and everything like that, and people were scared. Then the ability...
And they were spoiled children, basically, at that point. So, well, maybe they were spoiled children, we don't know.
Well, it just also explains
why
they
had no
thought
reason
gods
to try
were
to
capricious, you know what I mean?
think really hard, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, wait, of course. They didn't have to, and that's... I mean, especially if you're getting manna from heaven type of thing. Like, it depends. I mean...
Manna.
Well, I think that's the term. I'm not sure.
Man just means bread in Hebrew.
So they're just eating yeast?
Or a type of bread.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You know, it's been written a pretty much a long while after it, but as far as I can tell, the development of humanity has been spoiled by this thing. Maybe they spoiled by the cataclysmic event. People adopted gods and polytheistic gods who are ramifications of these things and the product of their ignorance. Then they started to develop philosophy, but it developed into... And the Greeks developed philosophy, and it was just, I guess, humanity being human. They had human at that center, but... in other places, they didn't. They decided to have, well, a kind of Platonism did the thing. So I'm just going to, it's related to Platonism, which had man in the center, but mixed them in with the gods. And you got a monotheistic God, which is a consciousness that's a deity, not a celestial object or event.
Well, now, I don't think they saw them anymore, but they still had a lot of people talking about them a lot. And
they had talking about them, but they just moved to the side because, like, look, gods are gone. I'm pretty sure you're conscious. You have consciousness, and but you can't not think in terms of gods. But your consciousness is actually here. So just elevate your consciousness into the level of a god, or the idea of consciousness to the level of that god, and you get monotheism in practice. Now the philosophy came from Plato, who said the highest thing in this world is thoughts. That's straight out of Platonism. Then you had basically a split from that. At the same time, you had Kantianism, which is essentially nihilism. I already said what I think in it. There's nothing. There's no consciousness. There's no being. Screw the god. The gods are not part of nihilism. Nothing is.
Right.
Nihilism is there for destruction. You know, some men want to watch the world burn. They get a kick out of it. And now it's basically a battle between nihilism and rationalism or humanism. The gods are long dead at this point, man. Which is why it's hard to get people to care about the god. It's like, it really is hard. In the game I told you about, where they have to discover what to do in the future, the main bad guys aren't have anything to do with that. They're just nihilists who want to destroy everything. Because that's what's left. So that's what I think we are now in humanity, and we have to decide what...
But we are fascinated by the idea, like, to think about things on those terms. Like, I mean, there's many games that talk about like
we are, but those are curiosities,
I suppose.
You know, the two major forces in the world are, I guess, the two major forces in the world are in the past centuries are communism or other totalitarian political ideologies and humanistic ideologies that involve democracy, free markets, constitutionalism, or government by consent of the governed, rule of law, all of those stuff. Those are, neither is Saturn or any other planet. They're just two things on their own.
Well, no, one's actually kind of like a devolution of top-down monarchy stuff, because everyone comes from the gods, like even Pharaoh.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of communism is essentially, the debt. In a sense, part of communism is the debt. It's like, guys, let's go back to a golden age of plenty. That's, a utopia where no class and whatever. That's part of communism. But the part that survived more and now and also became fascism is, fuck everything. I'm sorry for swearing, but that's the part that survived.
I can see that. I mean, with
2,000 years of culture, destroy it. Like the Cultural Revolution.
Like I have no desire to do that. Like I do not have any desire to watch us have to go and relearn how to use electricity. Like that's not something. And imagine toilet paper. Like
that would be horrible. That would be horrible indeed. There was a book like that by Ayn Rand called Anthem that has that as part of it. As a particular character, Prometheus, that's not his real name, discovers electricity again.
That's actually really.
You would like it. You should read it.
Oh, I probably have played versions of it. I mean, I played Fallout 3 and 4 and Skyrim, which are all the exact same thing.
This one's different. Yeah, a lot of that's a big part of magical things. Like, I don't know, maybe it's the fear of that it would happen again, or a comment of the Middle Ages, or just a way to not have the magic be too prevalent, explained, or powerful.
Well,
Say like magic used to be powerful once in mythology.
When we watched
Rome
happen,
Roman Empire,
completely collapsed and left us in a complete crap show for like 700 years.
Right.
And that took
in the West. In the East, we had Islam. We had the religion from Arabia. I don't get sense. I don't get censored or anything.
Why would you get censored?
Interesting.
You gotta be careful, man.
I'm not remotely careful. Here, I'm going to use them all here. Persian, Arabic, I don't know, Greeks. I can't think of any other ones there.
Anyways, the
Christians, I guess.
Oh, that's
there. That's it. There.
Yeah,
you get censored. Yay! Okay.
So anyways, that's kind of the way. That's not related to what I said, but that's part of how I see the world is now. We have these forces, and if you want to sow the EUT, I really hope it's not on the part of nihilism. It's on the part of humanism that affirms human life and nature, human life and man's nature, and all of that.
Well,
if I can, yeah.
No, I was just going to say this is actually. We talked about little things like this about, like, for example, the natural devolution of your paradigm is like what's happening right now with Rick and Morty. That's the end of the Big Bang paradigm. Like they try to prop it up with the Big Bang Theory show.
Even modern physics is kind of really nihilistic in a sense.
But they're ending.
It's really nihilistic because it's like, there's nothing, there's no entities, there's no causality. There's complete randomness with quantum physics. Atoms aren't real. You're not real.
The empty space, yes, I got that. Yeah,
empty space, dark matter, black holes, heat. This is not that for heat death of the universe, which was. I don't think that universe.
It was a big thing back in what was it called? I remember entropy was a big talk of a Doctor Who episode where they were trying to bleed off the heat of the universe and pump it into another universe. I thought it was great.
I don't think that's going to happen because we know that heat creates. No, not that. I'm talking about heat death of the universe. I don't think that's gonna happen because that's like, it works on this thing, but maybe there's something bigger than that. I don't know, man. Just we know thermopiles can make heat into order, and there's thermopiles freaking everywhere in the cosmos. So I don't think that's that nihilistic as it is. That sound nihilistic. Gets used to it. And Cthulhu, oh my God, Cthulhu is basically. An Augustinian version of hell in the modern times. It's like he's not even a benevolent, all-loving God that can send you to hell. He just doesn't even care.
I mean, at least Satan was hot, right?
No, at least Lucifer is. He's
supposed to be a beautiful angel. Yeah, at least if I go to hell, at least I get to look at his abs. Apparently, I don't get to deal with this one. Cthulhu tentacles all up there.
No, not even that. That's just nothing. that's what the world is. I mean, you have on one side, I think, all of this big, because physics, modernistic physics nonsense with quantum theory and string theory and all of that, and you have on the other side this world and with EUT, with I know Birkeland and Christian and this stuff you can demonstrate, and that they are beautiful in a sense, and they have. So you see the Northern Lights, they're beautiful. Yeah. Oh, they do more. Oh, nice. It's directly experienceable, like Walt Thornhill likes to stress, which is true.
It is. I sat there for 3 hours one day and watched Northern Lights, so it was a big deal.
It's really fun to watch. Also, it has something to do with the past. I mean, it clarifies the past too, which is great. I don't think it would have to be that to do it, but it's just better that it is. So, so if you do want to make movies and want to spread the EU through movies, you actually have to think about, you can't just do it in a gimmicky way, like some people suggested. It'll just be a gimmick. It would be like
right.
Godzilla.
I'm a total amateur. I just have I have things I would love to see, but I mean, they don't have to come to pass because that's bad writing.
Look, they can come to pass. They should just come to pass in a way that fits with the story. Because you remember the Godzilla movie that did have that. Oh yeah, that Godzilla is Marduk, or the warrior hero god, and Ghidorah is Venus, and there's no Saturn in the story. Sorry guys, that's in for the sequel.
I know. Yeah, I love that.
Saturn is King Kong. Wait, what? And they
Saturn
just had
King Kong?
That was cool, but I don't. But that was cool, but we're not gonna. That's not gonna have an impact. Like, I remember it just because it's like, oh, that was cool. Oh yeah. Also, the Earth is flat in Godzilla, which the Earth is hollow.
The Earth is hollow.
The Earth is hollow in Godzilla, which I really like. That was interesting because it's a real theory. That's so a cool theory that the Earth is hollow. That's cool. I really like thinking about that.
I'm fine with that on an electrical scale. 40% of them should be hollow, probably, but I don't know. Well, just because if they are made with electricity, and Bemisat Laboratories and C.J. Ransom is correct, he cut all the electric spheres he made, the Martian blueberries, and cut them all in half, and he said 40% of them thereabouts are hollow, with some version of that in there. Now, I'm sure constituency matters. I don't know, but it makes sense in certain cases. The question it doesn't make sense is why it's so fucking heavy. But the Earth, I meant. Anyway,
if you are going to show it, don't think about using it as a gimmick, because that is going to end up like the Godzilla movie, which is going to be cool, but nobody would remember it. If you are going to do it, go for it in the direction of actually something that's important to the characters, which should represent, what humanity is. Unless you just do it, humanity is, because that's how it's going to have an impact. Even if you do it in the way of like, this is not how humanity is. This has nothing to do with discovery or mythology or even religionism. It has to do with how people were back then. It might be interesting as a setting, but it's not going to have any purchase for the idea on its own. It's going to be like, hey, let's make a show about in ancient Rome. Yeah, cool, whatever. People aren't going to get more about ancient Rome. It's just going to be a gimmick at that point. It might help the story, but
I realize that all we are in the grand scheme of things are the executive producers or people who go, hey, did they make a show with superheroes? Okay, yeah, buy DC. Okay, buy DC. Okay. And they just go, yeah, we need superhero movies. People. Make superhero movies and make money for us. And they're yelling.
That's what executive producers are. Yeah. No, that's what they do. They just find what people like and they do it. Now, the biggest irony in that is people think they are very powerful people. No, they're not. They have to give people what they want. If not, they're toast. It's like that character from The Fountainhead, Gail Wynand, who is a big publisher, and he thinks, yeah, I'm very powerful. I can convince people of it. I can have people do what they want. And then he's like, hey, I want to help this guy. And people are like, no, screw him. But listen to me. No. We want cheap bullshit. Give us cheap bullshit. Like, that's what producers are like.
American War now.
Anyways, because of bullshit. Anyways, that's what producers do. That's what producers do, actually. That they don't have a lot of power. It's like it's up for like indie guys who don't have that many restraints. They're like pirates. I like to think of myself as a movie pirate. who is just doing yeah. No joke. My ancestor was a rabbi pirate in the Caribbean.
Really?
Yeah. That makes sense. The Spanish Inquisition and the discovery of America were pretty much the same year.
I'm still in my head right now. I'm just singing the song. Oh, the year was 1778. How I wish I was in. Anyway, you have pirates, and
Jewish Pirates of the Caribbean. That's
Jewish
my favorite
Pirates
song.
of the. I'm just gonna write that down.
That's one of my favorite books. It's so cool, man. So cool. And I happen to be a descendant of one of the famous ones, though. So.
Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks.
Is it?
I know that one. Very nice. So anyways, the people who really make people stay are the indie guys with nothing to lose, like Lucas or Coppola or come on, to that extent.
Well,
so there is a future. So there is a future to influence people if it's by movies. You don't have to do what everyone else does. You just have to do it your own way and not compromise. That's one of the. And have talented people around you. Trust me, George Lucas isn't a really talented guy on his own. But he's great at surrounding himself with incredibly talented people that really care.
Well, yes, I would have to say
that's the secret to being any producer. Find talented people. Don, do you agree with that?
I agree with that. It's interesting that you talked about pirates because I think there's a series of Planet Pirates, they called it. It was a series. And I think other people are really interested in how exactly you put those three components together and how the basic components flow together to each other and how you make a movie that way. So I'm looking forward to going over this particular episode and seeing if I can't figure out how you do that.
Well, trust me, just talking to him for a little while, I realized it was harder than it looks. So.
That's what I have to say about promoting EUT in fiction by just Huh?
Well, I thank you very much. That was fantastic.
I agree. I'm in the background.
Son, you said you agree.
I agree. Okay. Yeah.
So you just have to tell good humanistic stories, and it happens that EUT is good for that because it's true, and it's. I think being true is enough. But it's particularly good because it could also elaborate the past, which has been very oppressive. So it's a way of, I don't know, maybe art could be a way of achieving a art that is aware of this stuff and achieving a catharsis to this cultural momentum. You know what I mean by cultural momentum? I don't think these things are like ingrained in us. I think they exist on momentum, and the momentum is dying out, but it's still really persistent.